Chapter 294. The young ladies around him laughed even more happily. They didn't expect Qin Haodong to be so handsome and sharp. Yo. Zhang Daji was so angry that his face turned red. He said angrily, "It's not me who wants to compete with your dog. It's my dog that wants to compete with your dog. Do you dare to bet?" Qin Haodong said, "Let's bet." "Why not? Tell me, how much do you want to bet?" "Do you dare to bet with me?" Zhang Daji said as he stretched out 2 fingers. "Isn't it just 200 million yuan? I'll bet with you," Qin Haodong said casually. He was very confident in the fighting capacity of Damao and Ermao. Betting with him on dogfighting was like giving money to him. Of course, the bigger the bet, the better. The people around him were shocked. No one had expected that this young man in ordinary clothes would bet 200 million yuan. This number was also far beyond Zhang Daji's expectation. He had thought that Qin Haodong was poor and that it would be good for him to bet 1 or 2 million yuan. Who would have thought that he would bet 200 million yuan? Although he was very confident in his medicated dog, he couldn't come up with so much money at the moment. Some of his previous savings had been completely invested in buying fighting dogs. He only had the 100 million yuan that he won from by zipping yesterday in his hand. He took back his fingers and said awkwardly, 200 million yuan is a little too much. I'm afraid you can't afford it if you lose. Let's bet 20 million yuan. Qin Haodong said, "It's up to you. I don't care." Zhang Daji looked at the beautiful Qi Weiner again. He swallowed and said, "Beauty, would you like to play with me?" Qi Weiner looked at him with a sneer and said, "How do you want to bet?" "It's very simple. I'll give you 1 million yuan if I lose. If you lose, you have to drink with me tonight. Drink all night. How about that?" Zhang Daji said with a lascivious smile. Anyone could see his dirty mind. "Okay, I'll bet with you." Qi Weiner said, "But I don't care about your 1 million yuan. We need to change the bet." Seeing that Qi Weiner had agreed, Zhang Daji said happily, "Tell me, what do you want to bet? As long as you mention it, I'll accept it immediately." Qi Weiner stretched out a long and slender leg, pointed to the high heels on her feet and said, "Just now my shoe was licked by Damao. If you lose, lick it clean for me." This, Zhang Daji's face immediately changed. Qi Weiner's proposal of such a bet was equivalent to equating him with a dog. "How about it? Do you dare to bet with me? Give me a straightforward answer. If you don't dare to bet, then scram to the side." Qi Weiner hated the man who provoked Qin Haodong to the extreme. The onlookers immediately followed suit and made a ruckus. "Do you dare to bet or not? Hurry up and say something. Licking a shoe in exchange for a chance to spend the night with a beauty is the best deal. If I were you, I'd take the bet. If you're scared, then scram. Don't embarrass yourself here." Amidst the noise, Zhang Daji gritted his teeth and said, "Why not? I'll bet with you." This guy was extremely confident in his fighting dogs, especially since they had defeated Dabai and Erbai yesterday. He thought that these 2 snow mastiffs, which were the same breed as Dabai and Erbai, could not be much stronger. Then he said to Qi Weiner, "Beauty, wait a minute. I'll show you what it means to be handsome but useless. Although these 2 dogs look beautiful, they're not made for fighting at all. Just wait and drink with me for a night." Qi Weiner glanced at Zhang Daji and didn't even bother to say anything. She knew very well about the fighting power of Damao and Ermao. On the training ground of Daddy Security Company, security guards below the 6th level of overt power were no match for them at all, let alone an ordinary fighting dog. Challenging Damao and Ermao was obviously an act of courting death. Bai Zipping didn't know how powerful Damao and Ermao were. He whispered in Qin Haodong's ear with some worry, "Dr. Qin, isn't the bet a little too big?" Qin Haodong said, "No problem. Just make an agreement according to this." Seeing that he was full of confidence, Bai Zipping didn't say anything more. He immediately waved over 2 staff members and made a formal gambling agreement according to what Qin Haodong, Qi Weiner and Zhang Daji had said. From now on, the bet would take effect. The onlookers were not afraid of making a big deal out of it. The surrounding audience cheered and looked forward to the match as soon as possible. However, as the owner of the dogfighting ring, Bai Zipping directly arranged for this gambling fight to be the finale. After Zhang Daji paid the deposit of 20 million yuan, he took the agreement and looked at Qin Haodong proudly. Then he returned to his seat. In his opinion, he had won the bet. After he left, Qin Haodong, Qi Weiner, and Bai Zipping sat down together and waited for the game to begin. Qi Weiner asked, "Haodong, didn't you say that the Tibetan Mastiff is the king of dogs? Did this guy get kicked in the head by a donkey? How dare he challenge Damao and Ermao?" Qin Haodong said, "You'd better ask Mr. Bai about this kind of professional question." Bai Zipping said, "The Tibetan Mastiff is indeed a fierce breed, but most of its fame is hyped. It is far less powerful than the folk propaganda. How is that possible? Chi Weiner didn't believe it. Like ordinary people, she always thought that the Tibetan Mastiff was the king of dogs and the most powerful breed. Bai Zipping smiled and continued, although the Tibetan Mastiff is powerful, only the purebred and wild Tibetan Mastiff is the king. Those bred, even if they have the purest bloodline, don't have much fighting power in the dogfighting ring. This, although she knew that Bai Zipping must have given the most professional analysis, Chi Weiner still couldn't believe it. First, she had heard of the Tibetan Mastiff. Second, she had seen the power of Damao and Ermao, so the impression that the Tibetan Mastiff was the king of dogs was deeply rooted. Bai Zipping said, "Do you know how our fighting dogs are trained on weekdays? Every morning they have to run for 2 hours to warm up, and then they are put on a special treadmill with a live chicken in front of it. They are allowed to run for 2 hours. To train a good fighting dog, we not only need to train their physical strength, but also their bite force and endurance. In contrast, the Tibetan Mastiff has a greater economic value. No one will casually use the Tibetan Mastiff, which is worth millions of yuan, as a fighting dog. If you want to sell it at a high price, it must have a good appearance. Think about it. If the Tibetan Mastiff is bitten and messy, how can you sell it?" He said this completely from his feelings. Yesterday, if his dogfighting ring hadn't been forced by Zhang Daji, he wouldn't have used the 2 purebred snow mastiffs, which were worth millions of yuan, as fighting dogs. As a result, they almost lost their lives. He sighed and said, "The reputation of the Tibetan Mastiff is completely hyped by profiteers. It's pure nonsense. I believe that the wild Tibetan Mastiff on the Qinghai Tibet Plateau is like a wolf, but the Tibetan Mastiff from a farm, no matter how good its bloodline is and how high its price is not as good as a well-trained fighting dog." Because of this, Zhang Daji dared to say that Damao and Ermao were good-looking but useless. That's why he dared to challenge the bet. Of course, there were some words that he didn't say completely. The reason why Zhang Daji was so confident was that his fighting dog was poisonous. Otherwise, Damao and Ermao wouldn't have been defeated so miserably. Chi Wan didn't say anything. Although she knew what Bai Zipping said was reasonable, she had absolute confidence in Damao and Ermao. These 2 purebred snow mastiffs would definitely restore the reputation of the Tibetan Mastiff family tonight. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the game officially began. The whole dogfighting ring was boiling. Bai Zipping's dogfighting ring was an oval building with a cement platform about 1 meter high in the middle. On the cement platform, there was an iron cage about 8 meters long, 8 meters wide, and 3 meters high. The iron cage was completely welded with thumb-thick steel bars, which were extremely strong. On both sides of the iron cage, there was an iron gate about 2 meters high and 1 meter wide. At the beginning of the game, the 2 sides put their fighting dogs in from here. Generally speaking, the fighting dogs brought by the guests would challenge the fighting dogs of the dogfighting ring. Then the guests would choose the dog they liked to bet on. In the first game, Zhang Daji put a tall male pit bull in. The dog began to become restless before entering the cage, looking extremely violent. A male pit bull was also put into the dogfighting ring. The 2 dogs were not much different in terms of body size. In contrast, Bai Zipping's fighting dog was stronger, while Zhang Daji's fighting dog looked more violent and fierce. After the 2 dogs entered the cage, the staff closed the dog cage and the game officially began. According to the rules of the dogfighting ring, the game was over when a dog was completely unable to move or died after being bitten. As a fighting dog, pit bulls were very violent. After entering the cage, the 2 dogs immediately began to bite each other. The audience also shouted excitedly, cheering for the fighting dogs they had bet on. As a woman, Chi Wan instinctively grabbed Qin Haodong's arm when she saw the scene in the field. Dog fighting was not as powerful and beautiful as she had imagined. Instead, it was purely the most primitive crazy biting. The violence and blood were infinitely magnified at this moment. The 2 pit bulls fought fiercely. They even collided with each other and bit each other's necks, trying to give each other a fatal blow. Just a minute later, the 2 dogs began to have many wounds on their bodies, and their blood was constantly sprinkled on the concrete floor. Looking at the scene in the field, Zhang Daji could not help but frown slightly. He felt that this pit bull was a little familiar. It looked like the one that had almost been killed yesterday. But then he shook his head and felt that it was unlikely. It was good enough that the dog had been able to survive yesterday. How could it come to fight again? At the same time, he was also very confused. According to the results obtained yesterday, Bai Zipping had even sent 2 purebred snow mastiffs. There should be no dog fighting today. He even guessed that the dogfighting ring was likely to be closed today. In fact, Bai Zipping not only did not close the door, but he was also not afraid to fight at all. Where did he find these fighting dogs? Where did he get his confidence from? Anyway, the opponent's dogs were bound to lose. Bai Zipping would give in to him sooner or later. As he was thinking about this, the scene in the field had changed. The pit bull on his side had begun to slowly fall into a disadvantageous position. Its left front paw had been bitten off by the opponent, and its reaction speed was half a beat slower than the opponent. It was only a matter of time before it was defeated. How is this possible? Zhang Daji couldn't believe his eyes. If it weren't for the huge difference in the color of the fur of the two dogs, he would have thought that he was wrong. How could his dog be suppressed by the opponent? Logically speaking, the roles should have been reversed. He waved his hand and called over a young man next to him. He asked in a low voice, "Zhao Er, what the hell is going on? Did you forget to put powder on the dog?" Zhao Er quickly said, "No, boss. I put it on the dog myself. There is no problem." Chapter 295. At that moment, there was a decisive change in the situation in the dogfighting ring. Zhang Daji's pit bull's throat was bitten off by his opponent and he collapsed to the ground. Those who had bet on Zhang Daji continued to cheer, while those who had not had a look of disappointment. Relatively speaking, more people had seen Zhang Daji's victory yesterday, so they had bet on his dog to win. Now he had lost completely. The victorious pit bull seemed to be venting its frustration from yesterday's loss. Although its opponent had lost the ability to resist, it continued to bite madly. Later, when the referee announced that one side had won, a few staff members went in and barely separated them. People watched with relish. Damao and Ermao seemed to have no interest in such a low-level fight. They lay at Qin Haodong's feet and were drowsy. Seeing that his dog had finally won, Bai Zipping waved his fists twice. He had been losing since yesterday, and now he had finally vented his anger. After the excitement, he turned to Qin Haodong and said, "Thank you, Dr. Qin. The antidote is really effective." Qin Haodong said, "The antidote alone is not enough. Your dog is more powerful." Bai Zipping said, "My dogs are strictly trained. If Zhang Daji hadn't used dirty tricks, I'm sure he wouldn't have won a game." "What are you talking about? What antidote?" Qi Wan-er asked in confusion. Bai Zipping briefly told her that Zhang Daji had drugged his dog. Qi Wan-er scolded, "He's really shameless. He even came up with such a dirty way." Bai Zipping said angrily, "I don't know where that bastard got the medicine. If it hadn't been for Dr. Qin, I wouldn't have known what was going on." When Zhang Daji realized that he had lost the first game, he asked his men to get rid of the dead dog. Then he said to Zhao Er, who was next to him, "Go to Caucasian. Give me more drugs this time." "Yes, boss. I'll arrange it now." Zhao Er turned around and left. It didn't take long for a tall Caucasian dog to be sent to the dog cage. The Caucasian dog was ferocious by nature, and its biggest characteristic was that its hair was especially long. Zhao Er had really put in a lot of effort this time. He had sprinkled 5 times the amount of powder on the dog. If one observed carefully, the powder would fall when the dog walked. Generally speaking, the dog breeds would be the same. The dog-fighting ring had also sent a tall Caucasian dog. Shouts rang out again as the two Caucasian sharks tore at each other. Looking at the dust rising from Zhang Daji's Caucasian dog, Bai Zipping scolded angrily, "How many drugs did he use? It's actually smoking." He secretly rejoiced that he had invited Qin Haodong. If Qin Haodong had not concocted the antidote, there would have been no hope of winning the game. The two dogs were evenly matched. Qi Wan-er asked, "Mr. Bai, can your dog still win?" "Of course." Bai Zipping said confidently, "If you want to win a dogfighting competition, there are 4 key points: the dog's explosive power, endurance, bite force, and ferocity. Generally speaking, the strength of a dog's bite was the most important. If a dog went up and bit its opponent's throat, then there would be no suspense in the match. Now the two dogs are of the same breed, and they have similar conditions in all aspects. In the end, it's a competition of endurance which depends on daily training. This is the dogfighting ring. I've been training dogs for more than 10 years. No one is more professional than us in training. Zhang Daji's drug is to slow down my dog's reaction, endurance, and physical strength. But now that Dr. Qin has concocted the antidote, it's only a matter of time before we win." It seemed to verify Bai Zipping's statement. A few minutes later, Zhang Daji's Caucasian dog's physical strength was obviously declining. It began to slowly fall into a disadvantageous position. "What's going on? Who can tell me what the hell is going on?" Zhang Daji growled angrily. He had been waiting for his opponent's dog's physical strength to decline. As a result, his dog was exhausted before his opponent did anything. He couldn't understand why the powder, which had worked so well yesterday, suddenly lost its effect today. Was the dogfighting ring prepared? But that was impossible. The drug he had brought was the latest genetic powder produced by M country. Except for the antidote in his hand, no one else could crack it. No matter how angry and confused he was, his Caucasian dog was defeated in the end. The dogfighting ring won 2 games in a row. But it was far from over. In the next 3, 4, and 5 games, Zhang Daji's dogs were all defeated. At this time Zhang Daji had lost his temper. No matter how angry he was, he couldn't change the situation on the field. One thing was certain. His powder had completely lost its effect. In order to make it convenient for the audience to bet, the dogfighting ring arranged the schedule in advance. Both sides had to pay a deposit. Now it was impossible for him to withdraw. He had lost 8 games in a row. Not only had he lost all the 100 million yuan he had won yesterday, but he had also lost another 20 million yuan. Bai Zipping was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. Zhang Daji had returned all the money he had won yesterday. Most of the audience had bet on Zhang Daji, which made him a lot of money. Seeing that there were only 2 games left, Zhang Daji's eyes were bloodshot. He couldn't lose again. He really couldn't lose again. Thinking of this, he took out a bottle of blue liquid from his pocket and handed it to Zhao Er, who was next to him. Put this liquid on the dog's nose before you go on the field. Although Zhao Er didn't know what the blue liquid was, he knew that it must be something very powerful. He turned around and left. In the 9th game, both sides sent out 2 Dogo Argentinos. No one noticed that Zhao Er touched the dog's nose with his right hand before putting the dog into the cage. After the 2 dogs entered the cage, Zhang Daji's Dogo Argentinos immediately went crazy. Its eyes were bloodshot, and it roared like an angry lion. In the stands, Bai Zipping frowned slightly and said, "No, this dog doesn't look normal. Although Dogo Argentinos are fierce, they are not this fierce." At that moment, Zhang Daji's Dogo Kung Fu Dogo Kung Fu Dogo Kung Fu 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 Kung Fu. Then blood sprayed out. The Dogo Argentinos fell to the ground, twitched a few times, and then became motionless. In less than 30 seconds the battle was over. After a moment of shock, the audience immediately burst into cheers. It was a fatal blow. This kind of game was equivalent to a KO in a boxing match. But it seemed that things did not end there. The crazy Dogo Kek was still desperately biting the body of its opponent. Zhao Er brought 2 dog trainers into the dog cage. Not only did he fail to stop it, but he was also attacked by the Dogo Kek. In the end, a dog trainer knocked it out with a high-voltage electric baton and dragged it out of the dog cage. "There's something wrong with this dog." Bai Zipping frowned and said, "Generally speaking, no matter how crazy a fighting dog is, it won't attack people unless it's crazy. Moreover, the strength of these 2 dogs is not too different. They're even weaker than my dog. It shouldn't have such an overwhelming advantage." Qin Haodong said lightly, "It's very simple. Zhang Daji did something to this dog again. I don't know how he stimulated the potential of this dog. Not only did it make it crazy, but it also became extremely powerful. The reason is not much different from the berserkers in fantasy." Bai Zipping said angrily, "This bastard can do this? I'll ask someone to test the dog's blood now." "It's useless. It's the same as the medicine on the dog's fur. You won't get any results." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "Ask someone to leave some blood and fur samples. I'll study them later." "Okay, I'll ask someone to do it." According to the rules of the dogfighting ring, the losing side had the right to test the blood of the winning side's fighting dog. Bai Zipping immediately asked his men to do it. Thinking of the violent appearance of the Dogo just now, he said to Qin Haodong, "Dr. Qin, what should we do next? Should we continue?" If it weren't for Qi Weiner's bet, he would even be willing to pay 20 million yuan to Zhang Daji. He didn't want to see Damao and Ermao be bitten to death by the dog. Qin Haodong said lightly, "It doesn't matter. Don't worry. Just go on." He had full confidence in this game. He had raised Damao and Ermao with all kinds of elixirs. They were comparable to holy beasts in the cultivation world. How could they lose to a crazy puppy? The game continued. The broadcast in the dogfighting ring sounded, announcing that the last game was between the Tibetan Mastiff from Wuxia and the Tosa from Neon. The audience cheered. After so many years of publicity, the Tibetan Mastiff had a special place in the hearts of Wuxia people. Many people hoped that the Tibetan Mastiff could win. However, the dogfighting ring announced that the odds of this game were 1-2. If you bet on the Tibetan Mastiff from Wuxia, you could get 500 yuan if you won. If you bet on the Tosa from Neon, you could get 2,000 yuan if you bet on the Tosa. This time many people hesitated. Although they liked Tibetan Mastiffs, no one wanted to go against money, especially the audience who had seen the failure of Dubai and Erbai yesterday. They all placed their bets on the Tosa. It was no wonder that they hesitated. Everyone present knew about dogs. The Tosa was a large competitive fighting dog produced in Neon. Its bite force was 1.5 times that of a pit bull. It was known as the king of Oriental fighting dogs. It was even more famous than the Tibetan Mastiff in the dog fighting world. Because of this, most people still bet on the Tosa after the bets were placed. Zhang Daji finally won. He regained his confidence, and his face was full of arrogance and pride. He looked at Qin Haodong and said excitedly, "Boy, my dog will kill your dog." At the same time, he glanced at Qi Wan greedily, as if he had already seen the scene of this super beauty under his body. The game officially began. Zhao Er put a tall Tosa into the dog cage. Just like last time, he secretly wiped the tip of the Tosa's nose with his right hand. Qin Haodong took Damao and Mao to the front of the dog cage. He opened the door and said, "Damao, you are a boy. You should do this kind of bloody thing." Damao seemed to understand him. Without any hesitation, he jumped into the dog cage. He walked leisurely, holding his head high and chest out, like a king looking down on the world. He did not take the Tosa in his eyes at all. When the Tosa saw Damao, it flinched a little at first, but it quickly entered the state of madness. After letting out a loud roar, it fiercely pounced on Damao. Its movements were fast and fierce like a mad lion. Damao stood there quietly without any movement, as if he was scared silly. He was waiting for the Tosa to attack. The audience exclaimed, and everyone's hearts were in their mouths for this beautiful snow mastiff. Chapter 296. Well done. Zhang Daji jumped up excitedly. "I've told you that snow mastiffs are just like that toy boy. They're good-looking but useless." Bai Zipping sighed as he looked at the scene. Although he didn't know what method Qin Haodong had used to make Damao grow up quickly, it was only a month-old puppy. It was normal for it to be scared silly when it saw such a fierce Tosa. He reached out to cover his eyes. He couldn't bear to see Damao being bitten to death by the Tosa. At this moment, an incredible scene happened. Seeing that the Tosa's fierce mouth was already in front of it, Damao finally moved. Its huge body gently twisted to the side, dodging the Tosa's attack. Then it raised its right front claw and hit the Tosa's neck fiercely. This slap was so powerful that the ferocious Tosa was slapped 4 or 5 meters away. Its body heavily hit the dog cage next to it before it stopped. The audience was in an uproar. Although the audience had watched countless dog fights, they had never seen such a scene. Wasn't the most powerful weapon in a fight the teeth? Why did it change to claws? What was going on? Was it boxing? Zhang Daji was confused. He had expected the Tosa to tear Damao's throat, but he didn't expect that his dog would be beaten like a dog. The Tosa got up from the ground. Although it didn't know what had happened, it had entered a state of madness. Its body didn't feel pain, so it roared again and rushed at Damao. At this time, Damao was really like a martial arts master. He was not in a hurry. He could easily avoid the Tosa's fatal blow and casually hit the Tosa with his paw, making the Tosa roll on the ground. Then a strange scene happened in the dogfighting ring. The previous scene of 2 dogs biting each other was gone. Instead, one dog was using its 2 front paws to beat the other dog. The manic Tosa rushed left and right and launched dozens of attacks, but it did not even touch a single hair of Damao. After going berserk, its speed and strength were not worth mentioning in front of Damao. On the contrary, it was beaten to the point that it was covered with scars and crawled on the ground. Bai Zipping's eyes widened in surprise and he murmured, "What a monster! It's a monster." In all his years of dogfighting, he had never seen anything like Damao's almost demonic fighting style. He was even smarter than a human. Bastard, is this still a dog? Zhang Daji was so mad that he smashed the cup in his hand on the ground. A few minutes later, although the Tosa was still violent, Damao had lost his interest in playing with it. Seeing an opportunity, it suddenly pounced on the Tosa, and its 2 front claws pushed the Tosa to the ground. One of its front claws was pressed against the Tosa's head, and the other was pressed against its chest. Tosa, who was originally extremely powerful after going berserk, had no room to resist in front of Damao. Even though it struggled desperately, it still could not get rid of the 2 mountain-like front claws. Stepping on the Tosa, Amori suddenly opened its bloody mouth and tore its throat. The same thing happened again, but this time, Zhang Daji's Tosa was the loser. After easily killing the Tosa, De Mao looked like a victorious general. He circled around the dog cage and then walked out leisurely. Long live the Tibetan Mastiff. The Tibetan Mastiff is too powerful, I am being forced. Divine Hound. As expected of our Wuxia's divine dog. There was a burst of cheers in the dogfighting ring, and even some people who had bet on the Tosa also shouted. After all, the Tibetan Mastiff was the most popular dog breed in Wuxia. Zhang Daji's face was pale. He fell into the chair behind him. Although he had used all his dirty tricks, he had still lost. A few hours ago, he had thought that he could take Bai Ziping's dogfighting ring for himself and make his family look up to him. Now, not only had he failed, but he had also lost all his capital. Suddenly he thought of the bet with Qi Weiner. He had wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to steal Qin Haodong's woman for himself, but now he had lost the game that he thought he would win. He was the dignified young master of the Zhang family. Qi Wener's shoes would never be able to hold her head high in Jiangnan City. Thinking of this, he stood up and wanted to take advantage of the chaos to slip away. Unexpectedly, as soon as he turned around, he saw Qin Haodong and Qi Wener standing in front of him, as well as De Mao and Mao. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Child Zhang, where are you going?" Zhang Daji stammered for a long time, but he couldn't say a complete sentence. Qin Haodong said, "The bet is over. Child Zhang, shouldn't you honor your bet?" Zhang Daji said, "I've already bet 20 million on the dogfighting ring. You can take it directly." Then he turned around and was about to bypass Qin Haodong, but Qi Weiner stopped him. "Wait a minute, you haven't honored our bet yet." As she spoke, she stretched out her long legs and revealed the red high-heeled shoes on her feet. De Mao had licked the tip of her shoes while they were playing. The saliva on it was now covered with dust. It looked dirty and disgusting. Zhang Daji was stunned. How could the dignified young master of the Zhang family lower his head to lick the tip of a woman's shoes? Licking the tip of a woman's shoe, he shouted angrily, "Qin Haodong, don't go too far. Don't think that you can do whatever you want with the Nailan family behind you. If you annoy me, I can still destroy you." Qin Haodong raised his hand and shook the agreement in his hand. He said, "It's written in black and white. You signed the agreement yourself. How can you say that I went too far? It's natural for you to accept your defeat. Don't think that I don't know what you were thinking at the beginning. Now you have to pay the price." "Yes, it's natural for me to accept my defeat. Since you've signed it, hurry up and lick the soles of other people's shoes. Are you still a man? You have to keep your word. If you accept your defeat, you have to accept your defeat." Some of the onlookers couldn't stand Zhang Daji's face and some just wanted to watch the fun. No matter what the reason was, they were all on Qin Haodong's side. "Shut up, all of you!" Zhang Daji shouted. The onlookers were shocked and stepped back one after another. Then he pointed to Qin Haodong and Qi Weiner and shouted, "Teach them a lesson. Break the legs of the man and take the woman away." Zhang Daji was so angry that he threw caution to the wind. He guessed that Qin Haodong had already found another woman, and Nailan Wushuang would not protect him anymore. Receiving the master's order, more than a dozen bodyguards behind him immediately rushed up with steel pipes and surrounded Qin Haodong and Qi Weiner in the middle. But because Da Mao and Mao were next to them, they did not dare to do anything directly. "Qin Haodong, you asked for it." Zhang Daji waved his hand and shouted to the bodyguards, "Kill him." He had spent a lot of money to hire these bodyguards. Some of them were professional special soldiers and some were boxers of underground boxing. In his opinion, they were more than enough to deal with Qin Haodong. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Qi Weiner had already moved before Qin Haodong could do anything. These bodyguards, who were highly relied on by Zhang Daji, were nothing in front of a master of covert power. Before they realized what was going on, they had been kicked to the ground by Qi Weiner's two long legs. They kept screaming. The surrounding people were stunned at first and then they applauded. No one had expected that this beautiful woman would be so good at martial arts. The scene that could only be seen on TV in the past was really happening in front of them. After getting rid of the bodyguard, Qi Weiner did a beautiful kick and directly put Zhang Daji on the ground. Then she stretched out the tip of the shoe in front of him and said, "Are you going to lick it or not?" The kick was so powerful that Zhang Daji almost fainted. Although he regretted it now, he couldn't do it in front of so many people. Licking the tip of a woman's shoe, he could only grit his teeth and not make a sound. Qin Haodong squatted down and said in front of him, "You don't want to lick it, do you? Fine, I'll find two willing ones. Yours." Then he snapped his fingers. Da Mao and Mao immediately came over and licked Zhang Daji's face with their big red tongues. "Come, let go. Help, ask them to stop." Looking at Damao and Ermao's bloody mouths, Zhang Daji was so scared that he almost peed his pants. If these two dogs became fierce and bit him on the neck, he would be finished. He had just seen Damao kill the Tosa with his own eyes. Now, the Tosa's blood was still on Damao's mouth. I'm convinced. Let me go. I'll lick it right away. Qin Haodong snapped his fingers again and Damao and Ermao immediately stopped. Zhang Daji raised his head and gasped. He raised his hand to wipe the wet saliva on his face and finally focused his eyes on the tip of Qi Wan'er's shoe. After hesitating for a while, he really stuck out his tongue and licked the high-heeled shoe. People around him rushed to look at it. Some even took out their mobile phones and began to take pictures. Looking at Zhang Daji's appearance, Qi Wan'er suddenly felt disgusted. She lifted her foot and kicked him out. Get out of here. Don't let me see you again. Although he had been kicked into the air, Zhang Daji felt very lucky. In comparison, it was a little better. Only the busybodies in the crowd were quite sorry that they didn't take pictures of this classic moment. Tonight's game was over and the audience dispersed. Qin Haodong left the dogfighting ring with Bai Zipping's thanks. He first sent Qi Wan'er back to the daddy security company, and then rushed home. In the Lin's villa after dinner, the little fellow said, "It's all Papa's fault. He took Damao and Ermao away. There's no one to play with me now." Lin Momo said, "Papa has something to do. Mama will accompany you to the yard to play football." "Well, let's go out and play football." The little fellow picked up a ball and went to the yard with Lin Momo. The mother and daughter kicked the ball one after another. Suddenly the little fellow kicked too hard and the ball rolled to the gate. She quickly chased after it. The little girl was trying to catch the ball. Suddenly, a pair of black leather shoes appeared in front of her, and then the ball was held in someone's hand. She looked up and saw a young man in his 20s standing in front of her. He was wearing a famous brand suit, and his hair was meticulously combed. He was carrying a large backpack on his back. Saber had been guarding her. When he saw the young man, he immediately stood next to the little fellow. As long as the man made any strange movements, he would launch a fatal blow. "Uncle, this is my ball. Please give it back to me," the little fellow said to the young man. The young man grabbed Tang Tang's shoulder and said excitedly, "Tang Tang, you shouldn't call me uncle. You should call me Papa." "Bastard, let me go. I have Papa." "I don't know you." The little fellow shook off the young man. She didn't even want the ball. She turned her head and ran back. At this time Lin Momo came over. When she saw the young man's face, she immediately felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She stood there with a dull look, unable to say a word. The little fellow came over and hugged Lin Momo's thigh. She cried, "Mama, he's a big bad guy. He said he's Papa. Drive him away." Chapter 297. No matter how the little fellow shouted, Lin Momo just stood there like a wax figure. Although her body did not move and her face did not show any expression, her mind was in turmoil. Tang Long, the name that had been deeply engraved in her bones, was completely integrated with the handsome face of the man in front of her. Fate made fools of people. Because of a drunken encounter, they walked into the same hotel room. Although everything happened that night after she was drunk, the man's appearance was still fresh in Lin Momo's memory. After 5 years he had not changed at all. After the incident, she had used all the power of the Lin family to find Tang Long, but she could not find the man's shadow all over Wuxia. Originally, she thought that Tang Long was just a passerby in her life. The past was the past and she could get over it easily like other women. She did not expect that she would have Tang Tang. However, when Tang Tang cried and asked her for her father countless times, she used to hate this man. She also wanted to find him and give her daughter a complete family, but she had never seen Tang Long. Later, Qin Haodong appeared in her life. Although her daughter had her ideal father and she thought of this man less and less often, the name Tang Long was always a thorn in her heart, making her feel humble and unworthy of Qin Haodong's sincere feelings for her. Under Qin Haodong's comfort, her life with Tang Tang became more and more happy, and their relationship became more and more fulfilling. When she thought that everything would get better, this man suddenly appeared in front of her. How could she face it? Her relationship was easier to deal with. After all, it was just a wrong encounter. It was just an ill-fated relationship. Let bygones be bygones. But what about Tang Tang? Anyway, this man was Tang Tang's biological father. If she refused, would she be irresponsible to Tang Tang? Would she be blamed by Tang Tang in the future? And Qin Haodong was deeply in love with her. Would his feelings for her be affected after Tang Long appeared? Would he still love her as before? How could this be? Was God playing with her? When she needed this man the most, she could not see him. Now that her life was peaceful and she did not need this man, he appeared in her life. What should she do? What should she do? For a moment, all kinds of thoughts flooded her mind, making her feel like her brain was about to explode. Saber had been standing by. As a veteran, he immediately saw that there was an unusual relationship between Lin Momo and the young man. It seemed that the boss's backyard was going to be on fire. However, he was just a bodyguard, and it was not suitable for him to intervene in emotional affairs. He could only hope that Qin Haodong would come back soon. Mama, what's wrong with you? Say something. The little fellow shook Lin Momo's arm hard. Tang Long took 2 steps forward and said softly, Momo, did my appearance surprise you? Finally, Lin Momo moved and said in a dry voice, what are you doing here? Tang Long said with self-blame, Momo, I'm sorry. I've made you suffer all these years. But you have to give me a chance to explain. I have my own difficulties. Lin Momo said, go. It's been 5 years. You don't need to explain. Don't show up in my life again, okay? Tang Long said eagerly, Momo, I know I'm sorry, but you have to give me a chance to explain. Even if you want to drive me away, you have to listen to me first, okay? The little fellow took Lin Momo's hand and said, Mama, who is he? Thinking that this man was her daughter's biological father, Lin Momo sighed and said, come with me. Then she led Tang Long into the living room. It was not good to let everyone know about this kind of thing in public. After entering the room, Lin Momo sat on the sofa. She seemed to feel that her mother's mood was not right. The little fellow sat quietly in her arms. Tang Long took off his backpack and opened it. He took out a beautiful Barbie doll and several toys from it. He gave them to Tang Tang and said, Tang Tang, do you like them? No, Papa said that I can't accept things from strangers. The little fellow did not like the man in front of her. She was even a little hostile. She looked at him with full of vigilance. Tang Long said, Tang Tang, how can I be a stranger? I'm your father. The little fellow cried, nonsense, my papa's name is Qin Haodong. If you talk nonsense again, believe it or not, I'll let Demao and Ermao bite you to death. Tang Long looked at Lin Momo with a wry smile and said, say something and tell your daughter that I'm her real father. Lin Momo hesitated for a moment and said, didn't you say you wanted to explain? Hurry up, I don't have much time. Well, I know you haven't forgiven me yet. Tang Long said with a regretful expression, I know it's not easy for you to raise a child all these years, but you can't blame me. It's all fate. When I woke up that day, you were already gone. Later, I asked around and found out that you were the princess of Lin's group. I was just an orphan. I felt that the gap between our identities was too big for me to match you, so I didn't go to find you. At that time, I had already booked a ticket to M country. In order to get an identity equal to yours, I worked and studied in M country for several years, and finally got a double degree in business administration from Harvard College. Speaking of this, he looked up at Lin Momo's expression. There was no shock, no emotion, not even any change. Before returning home, I asked about you. I knew that you were the president of Lin's group and had a daughter named Tang Tang. According to the time, I knew that she was my biological daughter. Momo, thank you so much. Thank you for helping me raise my daughter. This time I've thought about it. I'll help you manage the company well and raise my daughter well. I'll repay you with a lifetime of kindness. Then he took out a red diploma from his backpack and said, Momo, look, this is the result of my years of study. I'll definitely be your right-hand man in the future. Lin Momo didn't look at the certificate. She didn't even want to look at Tang Long. At this time she was extremely conflicted. If Tang Long had appeared 2 months ago, she might have accepted all this easily. At least, she would consider giving Tang Long a chance for her daughter. But now she had fallen deeply in love with Qin Haodong. She loved him so much that she couldn't accept another man no matter what. Momo, please believe me. Believe that I'm sincere to you. Although we only had one night, I really fell in love with you since then. In the past 5 years, I've never looked for other women. I've always wanted to treat you and Tang Tang well when I come back. Tang Long was talking hard. Suddenly, the door behind him opened, and a tall and straight figure appeared at the door. Papa, you're back. The little fellow immediately jumped out of Lin Momo's arms and rushed into Qin Haodong's arms. She turned back and pointed at Tang Long and shouted, Papa, a bad guy is here. You said he's my papa. Hit him. Qin Haodong's position in the little fellow's heart was irreplaceable, so she was very angry when Tang Long said he was her father. When he entered the door, Saber had already hinted to Qin Haodong that there was a strange man in the living room who seemed to have a special relationship with Lin Momo. Qin Haodong trusted Lin Momo very much, but he was curious about who the man was. However, when he saw Tang Long, he was surprised, and then a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Although he had been reincarnated, he was the only real Tang Long, so the Tang Long in front of him must be a fake. No one knew where he came from. The fake Tang Long didn't know that the fake Li Gui had bumped into the real Li Gui. He put on a warm smile and said, "You're Qin Haodong. I know you're Tang Tang's godfather. Thank you for taking care of Tang Tang for so long." Before he finished speaking, Qin Haodong had already lifted his right leg and kicked him hard in the lower abdomen. The kick directly sent him flying and he hit the opposite wall hard. "Great. Great. Papa beat the bad guy." The little fellow raised her two little hands and shouted excitedly. Lin Momo was also shocked. Although she hadn't figured out how to explain it, she didn't expect that Qin Haodong would start beating people as soon as he entered the door. "Haodong, don't be impulsive." She hurried forward to stop Qin Haodong, for fear that he would beat Tang Long again. If he really hurt Tang Long, she wouldn't be able to explain it to Tang Tang. Qin Haodong patted her on the shoulder and comforted her. "Don't worry, I know what to do." Then he handed the little fellow to Lin Momo, grabbed Tang Long's collar and pulled him over. He kicked Tang Long's knee and made him kneel on the ground. Then he said, "Tell me who sent you here. What's your purpose?" At this time he had a preliminary estimate in his mind. It was likely that this matter had something to do with Wilson Company. After failing to assassinate him, James could only find another way in another direction. If he could let the fake Tang Long gain Lin Momo's trust and enter Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, there was a great chance that he could get the secret prescription. The fake Tang Long roared angrily, "I don't understand what you're talking about. Why did you beat me? If you don't tell the truth, believe it or not, I'll kill you." Qin Haodong said with a murderous look. "Don't think that you can win Momo's trust like this. I'm Tang Tang's father." Lin Momo also took Qin Haodong's arm and said, "Haodong, don't be emotional." Qin Haodong glanced at the fake and sneered, "Do you really think that you can fool the real one? Now let me reveal your true face." Then he reached out and grabbed the fake Tang Long, raised his hand and tore his collar. "What are you doing? Let me go." The fake Tang Long panicked and wanted to resist, but he was no match for Qin Haodong. He couldn't move as if he was a chicken. Qin Haodong groped around his eyes and neck for a while. Suddenly he tore hard and the fake Tang Long's face and the hair on the top of his head were pulled off. Looking at the strange scene in front of her, Lin Momo was shocked and screamed. Qin Haodong put his arm around her shoulder and shook the thing in his hand to comfort her. "Don't be afraid. It's just a mask. This guy is a fake." It had to be said that this mask was indeed exquisitely made, unlike the previous ones. Skin the mask seemed to be a high-tech product. It was soft and soft to the touch, no different from human skin. Lin Momo calmed down and looked at the fake Tang Long in front of her again. After tearing off the mask, the fake Tang Long was much older than before. He was about 40 years old. Although he also had an oriental face, his facial outline was somewhat similar to Tang Long's, but his appearance was completely different. It turned out that she was almost cheated by a fake, which made Lin Momo very angry. She said angrily, "Who are you? Why did you lie to me?" Chapter 298. The middle-aged man saw that he had been exposed, so he simply shut up. "Bastard, son of a b***." Lin Momo was really angry. She had never scolded anyone, but now she was swearing. Qin Haodong patted her on the shoulder and comforted her. "Don't worry, let me do it." He turned to look at the middle-aged man and directly used mind manipulating. "Tell me, who are you? Who asked you to come?" After a flash of confusion in the middle-aged man's eyes, he said honestly, "My name is Kim Luan Hai. I'm from Koryo. I've been a financial spy all over the world for years. This time James hired me to come to Wuxia." "James, you're really a foreigner who doesn't give up." Qin Haodong sneered and asked, "Why did he ask you to come to Wuxia?" "First, he helped me change my appearance and then gave me some information. He asked me to pretend to be a Wuxia man named Tang Long. He said that he was Lin Momo's old lover and the father of her daughter. He asked me to gain Lin Momo's trust and enter Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. If I could get the formula of the blood revival oral liquid, he would give me a commission of 100 million yuan. If I could get the formula and destroy Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, he would give me a commission of 200 million yuan. Qin Haodong nodded. It was similar to what he had guessed, but James was more ruthless. Not only did he want to take the formula, but he also wanted to destroy Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. He fiddled with the mask in his hand and asked, "What's this? How did you get it?" Kim Luan Hai said, "It's a mask James gave me. I heard that it's made of high-tech nanomaterials and 3D printing technology. As long as I wear it on my face, no one can recognize me. Chin Haodong turned to look at Lin Momo and said, "Do you have any other questions?" Lin Momo shook her head. Chin Haodong had asked almost all the questions she needed to ask. "What are you going to do with this man?" "Take Tang Tang back to sleep first." Chin Haodong said. "James is still unwilling to give up. I want to have a good talk with him." Then he dragged Kim Luanhai into the study, turned on the computer and made a video call to James. The phone rang for a long time before it was connected. James' big face appeared on the computer screen. At this time he was lying on the bed with his upper body naked. Beside him was a foreign woman who was as plump as a cow. After the phone was connected, James patted the woman's butt and motioned her to leave. Then he said to Chin Haodong, "Chin, you're interrupting me." As a world-renowned financial tycoon, he had regained his previous calmness. It was impossible to tell that he had just been defeated by Chin Haodong a few days ago. Chin Haodong smiled and said, "I have a gift for you. Would you like to have a look?" As he said that, he pulled Kim Luanhai in front of the camera. Seeing Kim Luanhai's true face, James was shocked at first and then said, "Chin, you're very powerful, more powerful than I thought. Can you tell me how you saw through it?" He had spent millions of dollars to get this 3D nanotechnology mask. It was the latest technological product. After wearing it, no one would be able to detect it. He even found several experts in this field to identify Kim Luanhai. In the end, no one found any problems. He couldn't understand how such a good mask could be seen through by the young man in front of him as soon as he arrived in Wuxia. In fact, if he had asked Kim Luanhai to pretend to be someone else, he might have been able to get away with it if Chin Haodong didn't pay attention. Unfortunately, he had asked Kim Luanhai to pretend to be Tang Long, who was Chin Haodong before his reincarnation. How could the fake Li Gui not be exposed when he met the real Li Gui? Of course, Chin Haodong wouldn't tell him this secret. He said, "I can see through such a low-level thing at a glance. Please, if you want to play with it in the future, don't play with these children's things." James touched his head and said, "Chin, I really appreciate you. Come to me. I can give you more money than you can spend in this life. Also, why do you have to work so hard to open a factory? Just sell it to me. It's more profitable than running a factory." Chin Haodong said coldly, "James, give up. I'm warning you, don't think about the formula of the blood revival oral liquid in the future, or you'll end up like him." After that, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He lifted his leg and kicked Kim Luanhai in the chest. Kim Luanhai spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't even have time to scream before he fell to the ground on his back and stopped breathing. "Did you kill him?" James asked. Chin Haodong's ruthlessness and decisiveness were far beyond his expectations. Chin Haodong kicked Kim Luanhai's body aside and said with a murderous look, "If you make trouble for me again, I'll kill you too." James looked at him with a strange smile. He shook his head and hung up the phone. Chin Haodong made 2 more phone calls. Then he turned back to the living room, made himself a cup of tea and slowly drank it. "Haodong, aren't you going to sleep?" Lin Momo came out of the bedroom and sat next to Chin Haodong. Chin Haodong reached out and held her in his arms. He said, "Don't worry, there will be guests coming later." "Guests? What guests? It's so late. How can there be guests?" Chin Haodong smiled mysteriously and said, "I guess there will be. You're playing tricks." Lin Momo rolled her eyes at him charmingly and said, "Haodong, it's lucky that you recognized the fake one today. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do. Before I met you, I fantasized every day that Tang Tang's father would show up, so that he could give my daughter a complete family. Now that I have you, I really don't want that person to come again. I'm worried every day. What if he really shows up? After all, Tang Tang is his biological daughter, and I can't stop them from recognizing each other." Chin Haodong smiled and tightened his arms around her. He said, "Don't worry, I promise you, this kind of thing will never happen." "Are you kidding me? I'm Tang Tang's biological father. If there's another one, it must be fake." "Oh?" Although Lin Momo didn't know why Chin Haodong was so confident, she nodded out of trust in him. Chin Haodong kissed her on the cheek and said, "Go back to sleep first. You have to go to work tomorrow." "Aren't you going to sleep?" "I'll wait a little longer. If there are no guests, I'll go back to sleep," Chin Haodong said as he carried Lin Momo back to the bedroom. Then he covered her with the quilt and turned back to the living room to continue drinking tea. When he almost finished the pot of tea, suddenly there was a riot outside the villa. More than a dozen policemen rushed into the Lin's villa and pointed their guns at Chin Haodong, who was sitting on the sofa. The leading middle-aged policeman shouted, "Don't move. Put your hands up." Chin Haodong put down the teacup in his hand, looked up at the middle-aged policeman and said with a smile, "It's a little inefficient. It's 10 minutes later than I expected." At this moment, Lin Ziyuan, who was upstairs, heard the noise. He hurried out in his pajamas. He came to the middle-aged policeman and said, "Director Liu, what the hell is going on?" The middle-aged policeman was Liu Guohua, the deputy director in charge of criminal investigation in the East City branch. He was familiar with Lin Ziyuan. Liu Guohua said, "Boss Lin, I'm really sorry to come to your house so late, but I have to do my duty. I'm here to arrest a murderer." "A murderer? How is that possible?" Lin Ziyuan said, "Director Liu, is there any misunderstanding? How could there be a murderer in our house?" "This is absolutely true. There is no misunderstanding." Liu Guohua pointed to Qin Haodong and said, "Who is this man?" Lin Ziyuan said, "This is my son-in-law." Liu Guohua said, "He is the murderer. Just now he killed a man from Koryo named Kim Luanhai." Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "Director Liu, you are really amazing. You deserve to be a policeman." The man surnamed Kim wore the most advanced 3D nanomask in the world. He pretended to be a man named Tang Long and came to our house to cheat. I just exposed him not long ago. You even know his real name. Do you even know how I killed him? Liu Guohua's expression changed. He knew that he had let the cat out of the bag. He quickly said, "Don't talk nonsense. Anyway, you are a murderer. There is no doubt about that." After that, he waved to his men behind him and said, "Handcuff him and take him away." Two young policemen stepped forward and were about to handcuff Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong said, "Wait a minute. It's not urgent to handcuff him. We don't know who will be handcuffed later." Then he looked at Liu Guohua and said, "Director Liu, did James call you and say that I killed someone?" Liu Guohua's expression changed again. He had a bad premonition that things had progressed to this point. "Don't talk nonsense. I don't know James." "Then how did you know that I killed someone?" Qin Haodong's tone was still calm. "Someone called to report it." "Someone reported it? Are you kidding? This is my house. How could anyone know that I killed someone?" Qin Haodong said, "Director Liu, you don't have to deny it anymore. Just half an hour ago, James, the boss of Wilson Company in M Country, called you and promised you $2 million. He asked you to take me in and never come out for the rest of my life. Am I right?" This? Liu Guohua's face was full of surprise. This matter was extremely secretive. How did Qin Haodong know? As if reading his mind, Qin Haodong continued, "Not only did I know that James promised you $2 million this time, but he also transferred $3 million to your account 7 times before, right?" "Nonsense. This is slander." Liu Guohua shouted at the two policemen angrily, "Are you all dead? What are you standing there for? Hurry up and handcuff him." The two policemen came to their senses and went forward to handcuff Qin Haodong. Just then the door of Lin's villa opened again. 7 or 8 people in police inspector uniforms rushed in from the outside. The leader was Yang Guozhong, the captain of the police inspector brigade of the municipal bureau. "All of you stop." After entering the door, Yang Guozhong immediately stopped the two policemen who were about to handcuff Qin Haodong. "Captain Yang, why are you here?" Liu Guohua was both surprised and nervous. The duty of the police inspector detachment was to supervise the fair and honest law enforcement of the police. At this time, Yang Guozhong came to Lin's villa not for Qin Haodong but for him. Yang Guozhong waved his hand behind him and said in a cold voice, "Take his gun first and then handcuff him." The two superintendents immediately stepped forward. They first took Liu Guohua's pistol, and then put a pair of silver handcuffs on his wrists. Qin Haodong looked at him with a smile and said, "Director Liu, I'm right. The handcuffs don't necessarily belong to anyone." Chapter 299. Liu Guohua, who was handcuffed, panicked and shouted to Yang Guozhong, "Captain Yang, what are you doing? Is there any misunderstanding?" Yang Guozhong said coldly, "There is no misunderstanding. You know what you have done." Liu Guohua said, "Captain Yang, this must be a misunderstanding. I have been doing my duty and working hard. I really haven't done anything illegal." "Director Liu, it seems that you won't shed a tear until you see the coffin." Qin Haodong said, "But it doesn't matter. I'll let you see the coffin." Then he turned on the laptop in front of him and pressed the play button. Soon, the conversation between James and Liu Guohua came from the speaker. "Director Liu, 2 million yuan has been transferred to your account. As long as you can put Qin Haodong in prison, the money is yours. Mr. James, this is not easy to do. 2 million yuan is fine, but I want US dollars. Listening to the audio from the computer, Liu Guohua's face turned pale. He never thought that his phone call would be recorded. At the same time, he couldn't figure out how Qin Haodong did it. Why did he record his phone call in advance? Could it be that Qin Haodong knew that he was going to deal with him? After the recording was played, Qin Haodong looked at Lu Guohua and said with a smile, "How about it, Director Lu? Are you satisfied with this gift? Are you surprised?" Lu Guohua was silent. His brain was working fast, thinking about how to find a suitable excuse to explain this matter. "It seems that you are not satisfied," Qin Haodong said. "It doesn't matter. I have more here." Then he sent a few pieces of A4 paper to Lu Guohua. Glancing at what was recorded on it, Lu Guohua's body shook and he almost fell to the ground. In the past, Huang Weili hired gangsters to beat and suppress leukemia patients who protested. Many cases had constituted assault crimes, but they were all suppressed by him. Because of this, he received $3 million from Wilson's company. At this time, the information in front of him clearly recorded his transactions with Wilson's company, including the record of the $3 million transfer. "How about it? Are you satisfied now? You don't have to find a way to quibble," Qin Haodong said and handed the documents to Yang Guozhong. Lu Guohua's face was ashen. He was silent for a while, but after a while, he roared, "Qin, how dare you set me up? If you don't let me get better, you won't get better either." Then he turned to Yang Guozhong and shouted, "I admit that I received $2 million from Wilson, but there is nothing wrong with my law enforcement. Qin Haodong did kill someone. He killed a man from Koryo named Kim Luanhai. I've seen the video James sent me. It's true. We must arrest him." After he finished speaking, everyone's eyes focused on Qin Haodong. Of course, Lu Guohua would be arrested, but if Qin Haodong really killed someone, he would not be able to escape the punishment of the law. Qin Haodong smiled and said to Lu Guohua, "Sometimes what you see is not necessarily true. I'm a doctor. How can I kill people casually? Don't quibble. I saw it all. You kicked Kim Luanhai to death. Although he was a commercial spy, it was also illegal for you to kill him." Lu Guohua roared wildly, "Boy, you can go to prison. I'll be sentenced to 10 or 20 years at most. You've committed murder. Don't think about getting out for the rest of your life. You're thinking too much." Qin Haodong smiled at him, turned his head to a bedroom next to him and said, "Captain Naylan, come out and explain." As soon as the bedroom door opened, two people came out. One was Naylan Wuxia, the captain of the Jiangnan Province Criminal Police Team, and the other was Kim Luanhai, a commercial spy from Koryo. When he saw Kim Luanhai being escorted out by Naylan Wuxia, Lu Guohua was shocked. He had seen Kim Luanhai being kicked to death by Qin Haodong in the video. How could he come back to life in the blink of an eye? Yang Guozhong said to Naylan Wuxia, "Captain Naylan, what's going on?" "Kim Luanhai is suspected of fraud and commercial espionage. He was arrested by Dr. Qin. He just called me to report it, so I came to deal with it." Naylan Wuxia glanced at Lu Guohua and said, "Dr. Qin asked me to wait in the room for a while. He said there was a good show to watch. Now it seems that the show is really wonderful." Qin Haodong said to Lu Guohua, "How about it? Director Lu, what else do you want to say?" Lu Guohua was completely dumbfounded. Only now did he realize that both James and he had been fooled by the young man in front of him. "Dr. Qin will go first." Yang Guozhong waved his hand to his men and said, "Take him away." After Lu Guohua was taken away, Naylan Wuxia asked, "Haodong, what are you doing?" She was on duty that night, but Qin Haodong called her over, but she didn't tell her what had happened. Lin Ziyuan also asked with a confused face, "Yes, Haodong, what's going on?" Qin Haodong smiled and asked both of them to sit down. Then he began to tell them slowly. It turned out that after learning that Kim Luanhai was a spy sent by James, he started a new plan. Wilson Company had been operating in Jiangnan for so long, and there must be many forces left by them. If they were not uprooted, there would be trouble in the future. Therefore, when he was on the phone with James, he deliberately put on a show. He pretended to kick Kim Luanhai to death in a fit of anger. In fact, the kick only made Kim Luanhai vomit blood. His injury wasn't as serious as it looked, and he just fainted. After hanging up the phone, he immediately asked Chi Weiner to monitor James' phone. Sure enough, James thought that Qin Haodong had killed Kim Luanhai, so he immediately contacted Lu Guohua of the East City branch and asked him to arrest Qin Haodong for $2 million. Chi Weiner also investigated Lu Guohua's information and found that he had received $3 million in bribes from Wilson Company 7 times. At the same time, he abused his power in suppressing the protests of leukemia patients, so that the injured patients had no place to complain. With this evidence, Qin Haodong directly reported the situation to Shi Kuai, the head of the Public Security Department. Shi Kuai immediately arranged Yang Guozhong of the supervisory detachment to come to Lin's villa to arrest Kim Luanhai. After listening to him, Nalan Wuxia said, "I didn't know that you were really a little fox. You made such a careful plan in such a short time." After thinking about it, she said, "Then why did you call me here?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "This guy has been a commercial spy for many years. It is said that he is wanted in many countries. He is also a felon. Just take it as a super gift from me." He really wanted to give Kim Luanhai to Nalan Wuxia, but he knew that Lu Guohua would definitely accuse him of deliberately killing Kim Luanhai, so he did not let Nalan Wuxia take him away directly, but stayed in the room for a while. The more Lin Ziyuan looked at Qin Haodong, the more satisfied he was. This son-in-law was really a talent. He had medical skills, brains, and martial arts. With him, his daughter would not suffer. After the explanation, Nalan Wuxia left Lin's villa with Kim Luanhai. Qin Haodong and Lin Ziyuan also went back to their rooms to rest. Early the next morning, the first major event since the establishment of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company took place. The upgraded version of the insurance oral liquid, the Blood Revival Elixir, was officially produced. There were several delicate small boxes on Lin Momo's desk. These boxes were completely carved from camphor wood and looked antique. There were 3 small black pills in each box. They were the Blood Revival oral liquid that Qin Haodong had modified. The 3 pills together could completely cure leukemia. In order to distinguish it from the Blood Revival Elixir in the cultivation world, it was named the Blood Revival Elixir. Lin Momo picked up a box and looked at it. She asked Lu Yage excitedly, "How is it? Have you tested the effect of the medicine?" Lu Yage said, "I've tested it. I found 3 leukemia patients this morning and let them take the Blood Revival pill together. The effect is no worse than that of the Blood Revival oral liquid. After taking the medicine, the 3 people were cured and completely recovered." "Great, it seems that we have really succeeded." Lin Momo said, "Inform all media units immediately that Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company will hold a new product launch conference at 3 p.m. on time." "Okay, I'll inform them now." Lu Yage was also very excited. As the assistant of the president, she had also contributed to the establishment of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. At the same time, as the mother of a child with leukemia, she was also happy for the 4 million leukemia patients in Wuxia. "Wait a minute." Qin Haodong stopped Lu Yage and said, "When releasing the news, add one more thing. If any news media unit wants to interview us, they must bring a leukemia patient to try the medicine on the spot." Lin Momo's eyes lit up and she said, "Yes, why didn't I think of that? Some people will certainly not believe the effect of our experiment, but the patients brought by the media reporters will be different. If they are cured, no one will question the effect of our medicine." Lu Yage said, "That's a good idea. I'll do what Dr. Qin said right away." 10 minutes later, the news that Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company had successfully developed the Blood Revival Elixir was released, causing an explosive sensation on the entire media network. Before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the conference room of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company was already full of people. Most of these people were leukemia patients who cared about the Blood Revival Elixir, while the other part was news media reporters from various units and leukemia patients brought by them. At the same time, Qin Haodong contacted Wen Changjiang of Jiangnan Hospital and asked him to arrange professional medical staff to bring blood testing equipment to the conference room. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the press conference began on time. As the president of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, Lin Momo officially announced that the Blood Revival Elixir, which could completely cure leukemia, was officially on the market. After the news was announced, the scene was boiling. A reporter rushed to ask, "President Lin, what's the difference between the Blood Revival Elixir and the Blood Revival oral liquid? Can this medicine really cure leukemia?" Lin Momo smiled at the reporter and said, "The ingredients of the Blood Revival Elixir and the Blood Revival oral liquid are exactly the same. Due to technical reasons, the Blood Revival oral liquid was modified into the Blood Revival Elixir. However, the effect is exactly the same, so you don't have to worry about it. As for the second question, I believe that you have brought leukemia patients here to verify the effect of our Blood Revival Elixir." The reporter pointed to a pale middle-aged man next to him and said, "Yes, I brought my cousin. He has had leukemia for more than 3 years. Then we can verify it on the spot." As soon as Lin Momo waved her hand, a staff member immediately sent a box of exquisitely packaged Blood Revival Elixir to the middle-aged man, followed by a glass of water. The middle-aged man took the Blood Revival Elixir and swallowed it. Then he drank a few mouthfuls of water. At this time, everyone's eyes and the cameras in the reporter's hands were aimed at the middle-aged man, looking forward to witnessing the result after he took the medicine. Chapter 300. Under everyone's gaze, the middle-aged man's face began to slowly turn ruddy, his breathing became smooth and he looked more and more energetic. About 10 minutes later, the middle-aged man shouted excitedly, "I'm fine. I can feel it. I'm full of strength now. I'm sure I'm cured." Seeing that it was almost time, Lu Yage immediately led the middle-aged man to the monitoring equipment next to her and asked the medical staff of Jiangnan Hospital to start a blood test on him. When the test results came out, the audience was excited. The blood was normal, which meant that the middle-aged man's leukemia had been completely cured. After everyone returned to their positions, the press conference continued. At this time, another reporter asked, "President Lin, although we have seen the effect of the blood revival elixir on this patient, what is the cure rate? Can it reach 100% cure rate?" Lin Momo said, "At today's press conference, Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company will give away 100 blood revival elixirs for free for everyone to try. We'll see the data later to see the cure rate." Next, the staff of Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company randomly selected 100 leukemia patients on the scene and gave them the blood revival elixir for free for field experiments. Under the supervision of many media units, the leukemia patients took the blood revival elixir and soon shouted excitedly, feeling that they had gotten rid of leukemia. In the following blood tests, the test results of 100 patients returned to normal. It turned out that the cure rate of the blood revival elixir had reached 100%. After the results came out, a reporter immediately asked, "President Lin, we have seen the effect of the blood revival elixir produced by your company. How much will it be sold in Wuxia?" Lin Momo said, "Dr. Qin once said that he developed the blood revival elixir to help the 4 million leukemia patients in Wuxia relieve their pain. Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company sells it at the cost price, 680 yuan per box." "Oh my god, it's only 680 yuan. It's much cheaper than Baikang Sting. I've been taking Baikang Sting for 2 years and even sold my house. I didn't expect Dr. Qin's medicine to be so cheap. He's really benevolent. Long live Dr. Qin, long live Tangmin Company." After Lin Momo announced the sales price, some of the leukemia patients present cheered, and some cried bitterly. They were all grateful to Qin Haodong. It was this benevolent doctor who finally gave them hope to live. A bespectacled reporter asked, "President Lin, I heard that the cost of Chinese herbal medicine is very cheap. Isn't it a little too black-hearted for you to sell it at 680 yuan per box?" Before Lin Momo could speak, his words had aroused public anger among the leukemia patients. "Nonsense, do you have a brain? A drug that can cure leukemia in one go, 680 yuan is already a cabbage price. Where did you come from?" When Baikang Sting was selling for 28,000 yuan a month, why didn't you ask them why they were selling it at such a high price and that their hearts were too black? I guess he must have been sent by Baikang Sting to make trouble for Dr. Qin. When the reporter saw the emotional patients around him, he suddenly became very nervous, for fear of being attacked by these people. Lin Momo waved her hand, motioning for everyone to be quiet, and then said, "In fact, this account is very easy to calculate. You can check the announcement. Lin's group and Dr. Qin jointly invested 2.5 billion yuan, and Dr. Qin personally invested 500 million yuan. The total investment is 3 billion yuan. There are more than 4 million leukemia patients in China, so you can know the cost of each one. The value of Dr. Qin's prescription is not included in this." After she said this, the audience was silent. Now, even primary school students could calculate the cost of a box of blood revival elixir. The price of 680 yuan was not high. The reporter was even more ashamed and left the venue in disgrace. Lin Momo glanced around and continued, "As a businessman, I don't agree with this price, because businessmen have to make money. However, the price of the blood revival elixir was set by Dr. Qin. He is a doctor with a benevolent heart. He wants to cure his compatriots, so he set the price at 680 yuan. Long live Dr. Qin." "Thank you, Dr. Qin." The leukemia patients and the families of the patients present shouted Qin Haodong's name, expressing their sincere gratitude. After the cheers passed, another reporter asked, "Miss Lin, Dr. Qin, I want to ask you. After all, you are now a business and a business always needs to make money. Don't you want to make money?" "Of course we want to make money." This time it was Qin Haodong who answered him. "Lin's group has invested so much money, and we have invested so much energy. Of course we need to make money. However, we are not going to make money from our compatriots. We want to make money from other countries. As I said a few days ago, the blood revival elixir produced by Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company will first guarantee the supply of the Chinese market, and then enter the drug market of other countries. Then we will make money. The reporter asked again, Dr. Qin, I want to ask you, how much is the price of the blood revival elixir sold in other countries? Qin Haodong said, 100,000 yuan. 100,000 yuan per box. After he finished speaking, there was another sensation on the scene. 100,000 yuan was more than 100 times higher than 680 yuan. After the shock, people were full of gratitude and admiration for Qin Haodong. The efficacy and value of the blood revival elixir were obvious. It could have made a lot of money in China. It could have been sold for 100,000 yuan, 200,000 yuan, or even more. However, it was only sold for 680 yuan. This was not something that could be described as a conscientious businessman. He was simply a living bodhisattva who saved the world and saved people. Another reporter asked, Mr. Qin, you just said that the cost of a box of blood revival elixir is about 680 yuan. You suddenly increased the price by more than 100 times. Aren't you a little too black-hearted? Qin Haodong glanced at the man and asked, the cost of B. Constantine is about 200 yuan per bottle, but the price is 28,000 yuan. The price has increased by about 140 times, and this is the monthly price. Although the price of the blood revival elixir has also increased by more than 100 times, it can completely cure leukemia once and for all. In comparison, this price is a conscientious medicine. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a burst of warm applause on the scene. On the one hand, everyone was a beneficiary of the blood revival elixir. On the other hand, they agreed with Qin Haodong very much. Even if they could completely cure leukemia by spending 100,000 yuan or 200,000 yuan, it was much more conscientious than those black-hearted businessmen abroad. At this time, the reporter said, but I just said that you are a doctor. You can't just do it for money. Foreign patients are also patients. You don't deserve to be called a benevolent doctor at all. Shut up. Qin Haodong's expression was cold as he shouted, you said that I don't have a benevolent doctor? Have you ever thought that I could completely modify the formula of the blood revival elixir and completely cure leukemia in a month or a year? How much more money would I make then? I could even directly change the cure to effectively control the condition of leukemia like B. Constantine, so that every patient would have to take it for life. How much more money would I make then? As soon as he said this, the hearts of everyone present were touched. No one had thought about this before. It was true. If Qin Haodong modified the formula, it would be like a mountain of gold and silver. It would be easy to get money that they could never spend in their lifetime. Being able to relieve the pain of leukemia patients at one time was a benevolent doctor. This was the reincarnation of Bodhisattva. Qin Haodong took a deep breath to ease the anger in his heart. Then he continued, to tell you the truth, Wilson Company once talked to me and offered me 10 billion yuan to buy the formula of the blood revival elixir in my hands. If I wanted money, I could get 10 billion yuan or even ask for a higher price. However, I know very well that if Wilson Company got the formula of the safe pill, they would never sell it to our compatriots in Wuxia for 680 yuan. They might sell it for 680,000 yuan, or they might hide the formula directly and let you continue to buy their sky-high B. Constantine. I can ask myself that what I have done is absolutely worthy of the word doctor. If I can't live up to the benevolence of a doctor, then please tell me, what is benevolence of a doctor? The audience burst into thunderous applause. Only then did they know how much Qin Haodong had silently done for them and for leukemia patients all over Wuxia. The reporter was ashamed by Qin Haodong's words, but he still said, I'm not saying that you didn't do well enough, but you shouldn't distinguish between domestic and foreign patients. Qin Haodong said, let me ask you, the blood revival elixir can completely cure leukemia and save a person's life. Isn't it worth 100,000 yuan? I am a Chinese medicine practitioner and a Wuxia person. Is it wrong to sell medicine to my compatriots at a low price? I have done some research before. In recent years, the price of life-saving drugs sold to Wuxia, mainly anti-cancer drugs, has increased at least a dozen times or even hundreds of times. Is it right and proper for them to sell us at a high price? Should I be benevolent? After so many years, have you ever asked those people why the medicine sold to our Wuxia people is dozens or even hundreds of times more expensive than that of others? Well, the reporter had originally wanted to ask some sharp questions to highlight his existence and capture some news on the way. He hadn't expected Qin Haodong's words to be so sharp. He was speechless and flushed. Dr. Qin, we support you. You are the medical sage of the present age. Dr. Qin, benevolent doctors. You are the most worthy of these words. That bastard reporter, get out of here. You are not welcome here. Amidst the excitement of the crowd, the reporter also ran out of the venue in disgrace. Later, Lin Momo announced to the media the 10 places where the blood revival elixir would be sold. At the same time, she proposed a unique sales method. In order to prevent scalpers, all patients who bought the blood revival elixir had to show their leukemia casebooks, and each medical record could only be used once. After the conference, videos, photos, and publicity reports about the conference appeared on the headlines of major media, causing a great sensation not only in Wuxia, but also all over the world. In a villa in M country, Davis and a bearded middle-aged man were tasting red wine in their glasses while watching the reports about the blood revival elixir on the big screen. Davis took a sip of red wine and said, "Keynes, your plan failed. Not only did this Wuxia guy see through Kim Luan-hai, but he also tricked us." Chapter 301. Not only was Garnett the second largest shareholder of Wilson Company, but he was also the heir of the Garnett family in M country. After the failure of the last assassination plan, Davis had informed Garnett about the blood revival oral liquid and discussed how to deal with Qin Haodong. He touched his beard with a puzzled look on his face. Kim Luan-hai's mask cost us millions of dollars. The material is the latest nanomaterial, and we used the latest 3D printing technology to make it, so there are almost no flaws. Even the facial infrared recognition system and the experts who made the mask couldn't find any problems. I really don't know how this Wuxia man found out. Davis said, "Could it be that Kim Luan-hai gave himself away?" Garnett shook his head and said, "That's unlikely. Kim Luan-hai has been in this business for more than 10 years. He is the most famous commercial spy in the circle. Generally speaking, it is impossible for him to give himself away so quickly." Davis said, "I told you that this Wuxia guy is not as simple as he looks, so I suggest we use plan number 2 to deal with him." Garnett said, "Plan number 2 will take too long. We can't afford to wait. The blood revival elixir will cause us astronomical losses every day after it goes on the market. We must destroy Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company as soon as possible, so I suggest we use plan number 1. Davis spread his hands and said, "But old man, your plan number 1 has failed." Garnett said, No. In order not to expose our strength, I didn't use the perfect plan number 1. As long as I use my trump card, I will succeed." Davis said, "But my plan number 2 has entered the preparation stage." Garnett patted him on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry. Believe me, I will succeed this time. If I fail, we will use plan number 2. Davis said, "Well, I will wait for you for 2 more days. However, I really don't think your plan number 1 will work. That Wuxia guy is too cunning." After the press conference of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, the whole pharmaceutical industry was in turmoil. The success of the blood revival elixir had stirred up a huge wave. In particular, the on-site treatment of hundreds of patients at the press conference had played the best publicity effect, so that everyone no longer had any doubts about the effect of the medicine. The next day, the blood revival elixir was officially sold in 10 sales points in Jiangnan City. Because of the limited production capacity, they could only sell it in limited quantities, which resulted in a long queue in front of each sales point. After going to work, Qin Haodong first went to the production workshop and saw that the production line was running normally. Then he turned and walked to the office building. At this time, the reception hall of the office building of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company was already full of people. These people all spoke with accents from all over Wuxia, and there were even a few foreigners with different skin colors. They came from different pharmaceutical sales companies all over the world. After the blood revival elixir had been successfully launched on the market yesterday, pharmaceutical sales companies, which were extremely sensitive to business, had immediately come to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company to seek an agent for the medicine. These people had been in the business world for many years. How could they not see the value of the blood revival elixir? As long as they could get the distribution rights of the medicine, it would definitely be a profitable business. Although they had hired 2 clerks at the reception, they were still very busy. "Pretty lady, could you please convey our company's message to Boss Lin? As long as we can get the dealership, everything else is negotiable." A bespectacled middle-aged pharmaceutical representative said. The clerk said patiently, "I'm sorry, sir. Boss Lin has already said that our medicine is in short supply at present. We don't need an agent at all." It was true. The products of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company were different from those of other companies. They couldn't even meet the demand of the 10 sales points. How could they need someone else to sell them? Beauty, please tell Boss Lin that I just need to meet him and talk to him for 10 minutes. No, 5 minutes. The man obviously didn't give up. He thought that as long as he could meet Lin Momo, he might be able to win a chance with his eloquence. So he quietly put a red envelope in the clerk's hand. The clerk didn't expect this. She blushed and quickly returned the red envelope. Sir, I can't take this. Boss Lin is very busy. Today's appointments are full. Seeing that there was no hope, the man could only take the red envelope and leave bitterly. As soon as he left, another young man in his 30s came over. This man was completely different from the others. He didn't have the humble attitude of seeking cooperation. Instead, he was arrogant and had his nose in the air. The man glanced at the clerk and said arrogantly, I'm Zhao Kai, the person in charge of the Wuxia region of Manchuk Company. Contact Boss Lin right now. I want to meet her. The clerk smiled professionally and said, Mr. Zhao, do you have an appointment? Zhao Kai's expression suddenly changed as if he had been greatly insulted. He yelled, Have you received professional training? Did you hear clearly who I am? I'm the person in charge of the Wuxia region of Manchuk Company. Do I need an appointment to see Boss Lin? The clerk was shocked by his attitude, but she still said, I'm sorry, sir. According to our company's regulations, you must make an appointment to see Boss Lin. You can't see her without an appointment. What did you say? Zhao Kai slapped the front desk and said angrily, I'm the person in charge of the Wuxia region of Manchuk Company. I'm here to talk about the agent. Can you bear the consequences if the cooperation between the two companies is delayed? Well, the clerk's expression froze. If it was a representative of other companies, she could have continued to refuse because it was the company's regulations. However, Manchuk Company was too famous. It was said that the company controlled 60% of the world's drug chain sales. If she really offended Zhao Kai, she would probably be punished by her superiors. Seeing that the clerk was scared, Zhao Kai continued, I'll call Boss Lin now and ask her if she wants to see me. If not, I'll leave immediately. Okay, Mr. Zhao. Please wait a moment. I'll call the president's office now. The clerk picked up the phone at the front desk and dialed a series of numbers. Soon she hung up and said, Mr. Zhao, please follow me. Zhao Kai's face was full of pride. In the end, Lin Momo still wanted to see him. He looked around and walked to the elevator with the clerk. Manchuk Pharmaceutical Company was a giant in the global pharmaceutical industry. It was not something a newly established Chinese medicine company could afford to offend. The pharmaceutical representatives of other companies had no objection. After all, Manchuk Company was so famous that they could not afford to compete with it. As soon as Zhao Kai entered, Qin Haodong walked in. As the big boss of the company, no one would stop him. He walked directly into the elevator for him and Lin Momo. The other pharmaceutical representatives were not happy. They all protested to the front desk. Who is this man? Why can he go in directly? Doesn't he need to make an appointment? Yes, we don't care if the representative of Manchuk Company goes in. After all, they are a big company and we can't compete with them. But why can this man go in? The clerk glanced at them and said with a smile, This is the big boss of our company. He developed the blood revival elixir. Do you think he needs to make an appointment? The pharmaceutical representatives were shocked at first and then regretted it. They had come to Tangmen Company only to see Lin Momo, but they had forgotten about the big boss, Qin Haodong. They regretted it so much. If they could win Qin Haodong's favor, they could also get the agency rights of the blood revival elixir. It was a pity that they had just missed the opportunity. In fact, they couldn't be blamed for not recognizing Qin Haodong. As long as he appeared in public, he always cast a small illusion on his face, and the effect of the photo was always a little different from him. Because of this slight change, the photo clearly looked like him, but it couldn't be completely consistent with his real person. Zhao Kai was led to Lin Momo's office by the clerk. After entering, he directly sat on the sofa opposite her without saying hello. He raised his chin, looked at Lin Momo and said, You must be Lin Momo. I'm Zhao Kai, the person in charge of the Wuxia branch of Manchuk Company. I'm here to discuss the agency rights of the blood revival elixir with you. Lin Momo frowned slightly. Manchuk was the world's largest drug sales chain company. Although the blood revival elixir had no plans to be sold in other countries, she had made an exception to meet Zhao Kai, considering that they would eventually enter the international market. She did not expect this guy to be so arrogant. It seemed that he did not take Tangmen Company seriously at all. Mr. Zhao, as soon as Lin Momo opened her mouth, Zhao Kai rudely raised his hand and interrupted her. Zhao Kai said arrogantly, We, Manchuk Company, can act as your agent, but we have to decide the rules. Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company must agree to 3 of our conditions. Otherwise we can forget about the cooperation. First, immediately stop the sale of the blood revival elixir in Wuxia. I don't know if you have a brain. How could you sell such a valuable drug for 680 yuan per box? You're throwing money away. Second, after we sign the agency contract, we'll split the profits 30 to 70. You get 30% and we get 70%. Third, our company will decide the price of the blood revival elixir. We can sell it for as much as we want. Lin Momo was shocked by this guy's arrogance. Who did he think he was? Was he God? How could he put forward such harsh conditions? It was impossible for him to agree to any one of them, let alone 3. She said, Mr. Zhao, did you drink too much last night? Or did you not wake up this morning? Or did you forget to take your medicine before you went out? What do you mean? Zhao Kai was unhappy and said, do you think my conditions are too harsh? Don't forget that we may be Manchur Company, which is not comparable to other small companies. Cooperating with our company will definitely bring you great benefits. As the president of the group, you should be more open-minded and see the fact that the blood revival elixir is only a traditional Chinese medicine product. Do you know the situation of traditional Chinese medicine in Europe and the United States? Many developed countries in Europe and the United States think that traditional Chinese medicine is unscientific. No one believes in traditional Chinese medicine, let alone that it can cure diseases. It's impossible for a small company like yours to enter the European and American markets. You can only do this with the huge influence of Manchur Company. In addition, Manchur has a huge sales network all over the world. We have a world-class marketing team and the most powerful sales ability in the world. As long as we act as your agent, you won't have to worry about sales. You just need to sit at home and count the money. Chapter 302. Faced with such an arrogant guy, Lin Momo had lost interest in talking with him. She said, Mr. Zhao, I think there's one thing you haven't figured out. Our blood revival elixir is in short supply and we don't need to worry about sales at all. Therefore there's no need for us to talk anymore. Tangmin Pharmaceutical Company doesn't need your agency. What? President Lin? Do you know what you're talking about? Zhao Kai looked shocked. Manchur Company was the world's largest sales chain company. No matter where it went, it would be treated like an ancestor by pharmaceutical companies. No company had ever refused to cooperate with them. That was why he was so arrogant. That day, he had received an order from his superiors to discuss cooperation with Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company about the blood revival elixir. He had thought that with Manchur's advantages, he would have an absolute advantage over such a new traditional Chinese medicine company. He could do whatever he wanted. He had not expected to be rejected. I said that Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company doesn't need to cooperate with Manchur. Please go back. Although Lin Momo spoke politely, her attitude was extremely firm. Zhao Kai shouted angrily, Lin Momo, you have to think about it. You're the president of the group and you're responsible for the whole company. If you refuse to cooperate with Manchur, I can guarantee that your products will never be sold to Europe and the United States. Lin Momo said coldly, this is Tangmin Company's business. It has nothing to do with you. Seeing that the negotiation was about to reach a dead end, Zhao Kai finally restrained himself and said, President Lin, don't be so hasty to make a decision. Aren't we negotiating? We still have to talk about cooperation. Don't forget that you're a businessman. The first thing you should think about is how to make the biggest profit. Now the blood revival elixir is sold at 680 yuan per box. I really don't know what you're thinking. What's the difference between this and giving it away for free? As long as you give us the agency, I can guarantee that you'll make at least 100,000 yuan per box. Lin Momo had lost interest in talking. She was waiting for this guy to finish talking and get out of here. Zhao Kai misunderstood her reaction and thought that she was moved by the profit he reported. He said, I'm telling you, you can't listen to that little doctor about the product management. We are businessmen and businessmen want to make money. Don't talk about the benevolence of doctors. That's totally brainless. Hearing this guy start to slander Qin Haodong, Lin Momo finally couldn't hold back her anger. She said angrily, get out of here. What? Zhao Kai could not believe his ears. He had participated in countless business negotiations on behalf of Manchur Company, and nobody had ever dared to tell him to piss off. Didn't you hear? I told you to get out, so hurry up and get out. As soon as the door opened, Qin Haodong walked in from the outside. With his keen sixth senses, he had heard most of their conversation along the way. Zhao Kai flew into a rage out of shame after being shouted at twice. He shouted at Qin Haodong, "Who are you? Can't you see I'm talking to your boss? It's not your place to talk." Lin Momo said, "You're wrong. I'm just the president of the company. He's my boss." Boss? Zhao Kai recognized that the young man in front of him was Qin Haodong, who had gone viral on the internet. "Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm Zhao Kai, the person in charge of Manchur Company's Wuxia region." Before he could finish, Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "There's no need to introduce yourself. My girlfriend just told you to get out of here. Didn't you hear her?" Zhao Kai was so angry that his eyes were on fire. He was the person in charge of Manchur Company's Wuxia region, wasn't he? However, when he thought of his mission and the strict order given by his boss, he could only hide his face in his pants. He put on a flattering smile and said, "Mr. Qin, you may have some misunderstandings about our company. In fact, it's very beneficial for us to cooperate. As long as you're willing to let our company handle the blood revival elixir, we can discuss other conditions. For example, we can share the profits. You can get 70% and we'll get 30%. Qin Haodong said, "I heard the 3 conditions you just mentioned. We can't agree to any of them, so you'd better go back now." Zhao Kai's expression froze, but he quickly said, "Mr. Qin, it doesn't matter if you don't agree. It's a business negotiation. The most important thing is to talk. As long as you're willing to let us handle the products, we can discuss other conditions." Qin Haodong looked at him thoughtfully and said, "You don't want the pricing power of the products anymore?" No, it's all up to your company," Zhao Kai said with a flattering face. His attitude was completely different from his arrogance at the beginning. Lin Momo was secretly shocked and thought that this man was really good at acting. "You don't want us to suspend the sales in the Wuxia region? Well, it'd be better if we can suspend the sales. If not, we won't force you. About the profit sharing, what if we don't want to give you a penny?" Zhao Kai was shocked at first, but then he gritted his teeth and said, "It's fine if you don't want to give us any profit. Our company can handle it for free." It was Lin Momo's turn to be shocked. She really couldn't understand why an international chain like Manchur would force them to such a low price. Was acting as the agent of the blood revival elixir so important to them? Qin Haodong smiled and said, "The offer is good. It couldn't be better." Zhao Kai hurriedly said, "That's right. Our company is very sincere. Mr. Qin, what do you think about cooperation?" He had thought that there had been a major turnaround, but Qin Haodong's expression changed. He said, "There's no need to talk about cooperation. We won't let you handle the products. Get out of here." "Mr. Qin, don't be like this. Just tell us what you want. We'll be happy as long as you let us handle the products." Zhao Kai pulled Qin Haodong's sleeve and looked like he was about to cry. "Tell us what you want. If you want to act as the agent of our products, you have to pay a sponsorship fee of 100 million yuan to our company. Is that okay?" Zhao Kai almost choked on his own saliva. Their company had always taken more than half of the profits when they acted as agents for other people's products. Now, not only could they not take any profits, but they also had to pay the sponsorship fee. Lin Momo also thought that Qin Haodong was joking. How could it be possible? They had already made the biggest concession by not making any money. How could they pay you back? It didn't make sense at all. To her surprise, Zhao Kai gritted his teeth and said, "Okay. As long as Mr. Qin is willing to give us the agency of the blood revival elixir, we can sign the contract now. After signing the contract, we'll pay 100 million yuan as sponsorship fee immediately." What the hell? Lin Momo felt that her worldview was about to collapse. How could they negotiate like this? Not only would they act as agents for free, but they would also pay 100 million yuan as sponsorship fee. What's more, it was a world-famous company like Manchur. She really thought that Zhao Kai was crazy. She said, "Are you sure you took your medicine when you came out this morning?" Zhao Kai was so embarrassed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. If it wasn't for the boss's strict order to get the dealership at all costs, and if he couldn't get it, he would have turned around and left a long time ago. Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo, "You don't understand, do you?" "No." Lin Momo looked at him and said, "Do you?" Qin Haodong said, "I just asked Wan to check the information of Manchur. 8 of the top 10 major shareholders hold shares in Wilson's company. The top 2 shareholders are exactly the same as Wilson's company. One is Davis and the other is Garnett." Then he turned to Zhao Kai and said, "Go back and tell Davis that his little trick won't work on me. Don't even think about getting the blood revival elixir." Well, although Zhao Kai was extremely reluctant, his plan had been seen through by Qin Haodong. It was useless to stay there any longer, so he could only leave the office in disgrace. After he left, Lin Momo asked again, "Haodong, I still don't understand. Although Wilson's company is behind Manchurk, why do they want the agency? They still can't get the formula." Qin Haodong said, "You're still thinking too simply. If Wilson's company has the agency of the blood revival elixir, it will be a good deal for us to attack or retreat. First of all, they will have a large number of blood revival elixirs in their hands. They can continue to experiment in the laboratory until they find the formula. Second, if we are really scared by the name of Manchurk and give them a large amount of profits, they can also make a lot of money from the sales to make up for the loss of Beconstang's sales. The last point, which I guess is also what they value the most, is that as long as we give the agency to Wilson's company, they can play some tricks in the sales process. For example, they can make the blood revival elixir ineffective or even kill people. By then, the blood revival elixir will be completely ruined, and the big cake of the leukemia market will be Beconstang's. Oh, that's it. Lin Momo suddenly understood. It was not that she was not good at business, but that she had been in the jewelry business and did not have a deep understanding of the pharmaceutical industry. She was not as thorough as Qin Haodong, who was a doctor. Qin Haodong had always attached great importance to the safety of drugs. The reason why he asked patients to buy the elixir and take the medicine on the spot was that he was afraid that someone would take the blood revival elixir back and play tricks on it. If something went wrong, Tangmin Traditional Chinese Medicine Company would be blamed. After all, the interests behind the blood revival elixir were so great that it had taken away the cake of many pharmaceutical companies. It was impossible for these people not to have bad ideas about Tangmin Pharmaceutical. After thinking for a while, Lin Momo said, "If that's the case, what should we do when we enter the European and American markets? In fact, you don't have to worry about that at all." Qin Haodong said, "At present we mainly need to meet the demand of the Chinese market. When the Chinese market is almost ready, people will naturally come to our door and beg to buy our medicine. As the saying goes, good wine fears no dark alley. As long as our blood revival elixir is really effective, we can sell well all over the world without the agency of Manchurk Company, because we are the only company that can cure leukemia completely." Lin Momo nodded and said, "You're right. Even if we sell it in China, there will be patients in Europe and the United States who will come to buy it." While they were talking, Lu Yage hurried in from outside and said to Qin Haodong, "The technician in charge of purchasing medicine is on leave today. Can you go to the medicine market with the purchasing department and buy the medicinal materials we need as soon as possible?" Chapter 303. "Okay, I'll go with you." Qin Haodong simply agreed. After all, it was his family's business. Besides, Tangmin Company had just started. It was originally planned to recruit 3 technicians. Now one was in place. Once all the technicians were in place, this kind of thing would not happen again. They left the office together. Lin Momo began to be nervous and busy. There were indeed a lot of things that needed her to deal with in such a large company. Zhao Kai left the reception hall with his tail between his legs. Not long after he left, a young man in a well-ironed suit with an imposing appearance walked in. "Sir, who are you looking for?" The clerk at the front desk asked politely. "I want to see Lin Momo." The young man's face was very old-fashioned. "Sir, do you have an appointment?" The young man said, "No, but you can tell her my name is Tang Long. She will definitely see me." "Well, please wait a moment." Seeing that the young man was different from other pharmaceutical representatives, the clerk hesitated for a moment and finally dialed the office number. Soon, the clerk hung up the phone with a strange look and said to Tang Long, "Sir, please come with me." The reason why she looked strange was that she had never seen Lin Momo get angry on the phone. Moreover, Lin Momo still wanted to take the young man to her. She really didn't know how the young man had offended the president. In the president's office, Lin Momo's face was livid. A fake came to pretend to be Tang Long the day before yesterday. She didn't expect that another one would come just 2 days later. The people of Wilson Company were really endless. As soon as she received the phone call from the front desk, she immediately called Saber and Sharp Sword over. She secretly made up her mind to expose the fake in person. Tang Long was taken into the office. He immediately saw Saber and Sharp Sword looking at him fiercely. Lin Momo opposite him was even more murderous. "Momo," before he could finish his words, Lin Momo waved her hand. Saber and the others immediately stepped forward and pressed him to the ground. They quickly took off all his clothes. "Lin Momo, what are you doing? Are you crazy?" Tang Long roared and tried to resist. Maybe his small physique was no match for Saber and Sharp Sword. His upper clothes were taken off in a few seconds. "Look carefully." He must be wearing a mask. Lin Momo had seen Qin Haodong expose Jin Donghai's identity last time, so she was sure that Tang Long was also wearing a mask. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that people who had disappeared for 5 years appeared one after another at this time? However, Saber and the others used all their strength, almost scraping off a layer of skin on Tang Long's face and pulling out dozens of hairs. In the end, they still couldn't find him. Leather mask. Saber finally said to Lin Momo, "Miss Lin, this guy's face doesn't seem to be fake. How is that possible?" She looked flustered and speechless for a moment. Tang Long looked at her and said, "Since you can't name anyone else, the child is mine." "No, it's not yours. Tang is my daughter. No one can take her away," Lin Momo said in a panic. As the president of 2 companies, she could keep calm in the past no matter how big things were. But when it came to the ownership of her daughter, she couldn't calm down no matter what. Tang Long said, "Well, let's go pick up Tang now and do a DNA test together. If she's my daughter, no one can deprive me of my right to be a father. If she's not my daughter, I don't want her." Facing the aggressive Tang Long, Lin Momo hesitated for a moment and said, Well, can we go later?" She wanted to wait for Qin Haodong to come back. With that man by her side, she was not afraid of anything. But Tang Long cried, "No, I've waited for 5 years. I can't wait another minute. I have to go now, right now." Lin Momo thought about it and finally did not refuse Tang Long. She left Tangmin Group with Saber and drove straight to Gold Branch and Jade Leaf Kindergarten. When the little fellow saw Lin Momo, she cried excitedly, "Mama, why did you pick me up so early? Do you want to take me out to play?" Lin Momo couldn't get excited. She held the little fellow tightly in her arms and said, "I'm going to take you to the hospital for a physical examination." "But isn't Papa a doctor? Why don't you let him examine me?" Lin Momo said, "I'll take you to have a blood test. Papa can't do it." "All right then." The little fellow got in the car with Lin Momo. When she saw Tang Long sitting in the car, she immediately cried, "Mama, isn't that the bad guy Papa beat? Why is he here again?" Lin Momo didn't know how to explain, so she could only say, Tang, that one is fake. This one is real." Tang Long asked with a look of surprise, "What's real or fake?" Lin Momo said coldly, "You don't need to know that." Tang Long didn't dwell on this issue. He turned to look at the little fellow and asked, "Is this my daughter?" The little fellow cried discontentedly, "Bad guy, you're not my papa. My papa is Qin Haodong." Tang Long looked at Lin Momo and said, "How can you do this? How dare you lie to her? You should tell her that I'm her real father." Lin Momo glared at him and said coldly, "Shut up before you get the result." Seeing that Lin Momo was really angry, Tang Long opened his mouth awkwardly, but he didn't say anything in the end. The atmosphere in the car suddenly became silent. Lin Momo and her daughter didn't speak and Tang Long didn't say anything either. The car went straight to Jiangnan Hospital. Lin Momo held her daughter in her arms and glanced at Tang Long opposite her. She had to admit that the two of them were somewhat similar in appearance. If Tang Long hadn't had plastic surgery and wasn't a fake, he was probably the little fellow's biological father. But for some reason she had another feeling in her heart. Qin Haodong was more like Tang's biological father, while the little fellow had nothing to do with Tang Long. This feeling had no basis at all, but it was very real. In silence, the motorcade arrived at Jiangnan Hospital. Lin Momo took the little fellow and Tang Long to the genetic diagnosis room of the laboratory. After collecting the samples, Lin Momo suddenly became nervous. If Tang Long was really Tang's biological father, what should she do? How could she explain to Tang? If Tang Long insisted on taking Tang away, how could she face him? Obviously the little fellow didn't think so much. She ran up and down the corridor of the hospital alone, having a great time. Tang Long tried to get close to the little fellow several times, but the little fellow refused. In her opinion, this man was a big bad guy. Half an hour later, a nurse came out with the test report and asked, "Is Tang's family here?" Lin Momo nervously greeted her and said, "I'm here. I'm Tang's mother." The nurse glanced at her and said, "The test result is out. The paternity test result of Tang Long and Tang is 99% similar." Lin Momo's face suddenly turned pale and stiff. She still knew this basic medical knowledge. The 99% DNA test result of the two people showed that Tang Long was really Tang's biological father. God, what should I do? She felt that her head was going to explode. Tang Long excitedly held the little fellow in his arms and said, My daughter, call me daddy. Get out of here. Let me go. The little fellow was much stronger than ordinary children. She pushed Tang Long away and threw herself into Lin Momo's arms, shouting, Mommy, get rid of this big bad guy. I hate him. Tang Long came to Lin Momo and said, Don't you want to tell your daughter the truth at this time? This is my daughter. It's none of your business. Lin Momo held the little fellow and said, Tang Tang was brought up by me. You've never done your duty as a father. Tang Long cried, That's because I didn't know she existed. From today on, I'll do my duty as a father. I'll take her to M country. Chapter 304. Lin Momo yelled, No, Tang Tang is my daughter. No one can take her away from me. Why not? Tang Tang is also my daughter. She has been with you for so long. Now it's my turn to take care of her. Tang Long did not give in either. The two people's constant quarrel attracted people's attention. Soon, a circle of onlookers formed around them, pointing at them. Some people even recognized Lin Momo. Lin Momo took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in her heart and said, Let's not quarrel here. Come home with me. After saying that, she returned to the car with the little fellow in her arms. Tang Tang seemed to have heard something. She hugged Lin Momo's neck and said, Mama, I want to be with Papa and Mama. I don't want to go with that bad guy. Lin Momo said firmly, Don't worry, baby. No one can take you away as long as Mama is here. In a mountainous area on the outskirts of the capital of M country, it looked no different from other places. The mountains were beautiful, the rivers were green, and all kinds of beasts were wandering in the mountains. Birds were jumping happily in the trees. However, there was another world under the ground. A highly modern laboratory was operating in an orderly manner 30 meters under the soil. Davis and Garnett sat together on a comfortable leather sofa. Opposite them was a wide electronic screen, which was playing the scene of Tang Long and Lin Momo together. Next to them, two technicians were skillfully operating the computer. The instructions they issued were exactly the same as what Tang Long had said. Even Tang Long's expression was controlled by them. After seeing the DNA test results, Garnett proudly said to Davis, How about it, old man? My plan is going well. Now this woman is convinced of the identity of test body number 1. Davis said, The organization put you in charge of this laboratory. Now you've released test body number 1. Aren't you afraid that the big boss will blame you? Garnett's expression froze for a moment before he said, That's not a big deal. Experiment number 1 has already completed all the tests. This mission just happens to be a test for him. This is also a contribution to the organization. I guess the big boss won't say anything. Besides, I'm helping you. The big boss put me in charge of this laboratory and you in charge of running Wilson Company to make money. Now your profitable business has been seriously threatened. If you don't get this formula, I believe it won't be long before the big boss's anger falls on you. Old buddy, don't put the blame on me, said Davis. Even without you, my second plan can solve the current problem. You should think more about yourself. If the secret of experimental body number 1 is leaked, the big boss will definitely punish you. From the conversation between the two of them, it could be seen that their relationship wasn't too harmonious. On the contrary, they seemed to be competing and suppressing each other. You don't have to worry about that. I've already made a foolproof plan. No matter what, the secret of test subject number 1 will not be leaked. Garnett said excitedly, If test subject number 1 can successfully get the formula, it will prove that there is no problem with our research and development. Then we can carry out more important tasks. Davis said, Old buddy, don't be too happy too early. The most difficult thing to deal with in Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company is not this woman, but that Wuxia guy. Nothing matters before he appears. Garnett said indifferently, Even if that Tang guy comes, so what? The DNA of experimental body number 1 is completely copied from that little girl's DNA. There will be no problem with the paternity test. I have a hunch that you will never succeed. Qin Haodong is definitely more powerful than you and I think. Davis, you're too timid. I'll definitely succeed this time. Davis said, Old buddy, you are too confident. How about we bet $10 million? Garnett said confidently, No problem. Just wait to transfer $10 million to my bank account. In Jiangnan City, Lin Momo returned to the Lin's villa with Tang Long. After entering the door, she said, No matter what, Tang Tang is my bottom line. I can let you see her, but you can't take her away. The little fellow also said, Mommy, I hate him. I don't want to see that big bad guy. Tang Long said with a chagrined expression, See? Now my daughter is so distant from me, her father. I have to let her stay with me for a while. Lin Momo said, that's impossible. No one can take Tang Tang away from me. You are unreasonable. If that's the case, then I will go to court to sue. Whatever. Even if the court decides Tang Tang will be given to me. Tang Long sneered and said, that is not necessarily true. You are now in a relationship with that gigolo boy and I am single. The court is likely to start from this point and give Tang Tang to me, unless you can break up with that gigolo boy. Are you willing to do that? Lin Momo's expression changed. Of course, she was reluctant to give Tang Tang up, but it was impossible for her to leave Qin Haodong. I know you must be reluctant. Tang Long sneered again, and you are the president of Lin's Group and Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. If you really take the lawsuit to court, I am afraid that it will have a great impact on the two companies you manage. Lin Momo immediately realized that this man was definitely prepared and had everything under control. She said, tell me, what do you want? Tang Long said with a playful expression, since you are so reluctant to give up your daughter, and we are both single, why don't we get married? Then we don't have to fight for her and we can give her a complete family. No, that is impossible. Lin Momo refused without hesitation. If she had met Qin Haodong before, she might have considered this suggestion, but now it was impossible. Tang Long smiled and said, I know you are reluctant to give up that gigolo boy. Lin Momo said, change the condition. As long as you don't fight with me for Tang Tang, I can give you any amount of money. You are really generous. Tang Long smiled disdainfully and said, I am not short of money. How about you give me 20% of the shares of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, and I will not fight with you for the custody of Tang Tang. Lin Momo's expression changed as she said, that is impossible. I don't have any shares of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. What can I give you? What? You don't even have 20% of the shares? Tang Long said with some surprise, it seems that this gigolo boy is not good to you. He only wants you to work for him, but he doesn't give you any benefits. Since you don't have any shares, you can give me the formula of the blood revival elixir. Are you showing your fox's tail so soon? While they were talking, the door opened and Qin Haodong came in from outside. He had received a message from Saber saying that another guy named Tang Long had come, so he hurried back. Papa, come on. There is another bad guy coming. He wants to take me away. The little fellow shouted as she flew into Qin Haodong's arms. Qin Haodong held her in his arms and said, don't worry. As long as Papa is here, no one can take me away. Who are you? How can you say that? You are just Tang Tang's godfather. What right do you have to interfere with my custody of Tang Tang? Tang Long spoke with confidence, but as soon as his voice fell, he flew out like a kite with a broken line and hit the opposite wall with a bang. Great. Beat him. Papa, beat him. Beat this big bad guy. The little fellow shouted excitedly. Lin Momo pulled Qin Haodong aside and whispered, Haodong, don't be impulsive. This man is really Tang Long. Qin Haodong said, that's impossible. I also hope it's not true. Lin Momo shook her head and said, look, this is the paternity test done by him and Tang Tang. The similarity rate has reached 99%. He is indeed Tang Tang's biological father. Qin Haodong was a little surprised. He was Tang Tang's biological father. There was no doubt about that. How could there be another person who was 99% similar? He took the DNA test result from Lin Momo's hand and looked at it briefly. It was true, which made him a little confused. He was Tang Tang's biological father. How could there be another one? He asked, did he bring this test? Will there be a problem? Lin Momo shook her head and said, I did it with him in Jiangnan Hospital. I was there the whole time. There can be no problem. At this time, Tang Long got up from the ground and shouted angrily at Qin Haodong, why did you beat me? I'm a citizen of M country. You will have to bear serious consequences if you beat me. Qin Haodong turned his head and looked at Tang Long. The powerful power of the spirit quickly covered him. He wanted to see where the guy's flaws were. At first glance he couldn't help but be shocked. Although Tang Long was alive and kicking, this guy had no 3 souls and 7 spirits. His entire mud-pill palace was empty. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It was really interesting. Then he directly used the mind-manipulating skill. Tell me, who are you? What are you doing here? I told you that I'm Tang Long, Tang Tang's biological father. I'm here to get my daughter back. Under the mind-manipulating skill, Tang Long was not affected at all. Qin Haodong was sure that he was right. This guy really had no soul. The problem was self-evident when a person had no 3 souls and 7 spirits. Then he stretched out a finger and poked the Shanzhong acupoint on Tang Long's chest. Tang Long was so scared that he took 2 steps back and cried nervously, "What are you doing? I've already warned you. If you do anything to me again, I'll call the police immediately." Qin Haodong had already gotten the answer he wanted. Not only did this guy not have 3 souls and 7 spirits, but he also didn't have any acupoints. Coupled with the DNA test result just now, he had already guessed Tang Long's identity, a cyborg. He was definitely a synthetic cyborg. It was easy to guess who had sent this cyborg. It must be Wilson Company, which was after the formula of the blood revival elixir. Qin Haodong hadn't expected that the company's technological strength was so powerful that they could even create cyborgs. After getting the result he wanted, Qin Haodong waved his hand at the door. Saber and the others immediately walked in. "Boss, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong pointed to Tang Long and said, "Tie him up and put him in a sack." "Yes, boss." Saber and Sword answered and immediately put Tang Long on the ground. Then they tied him up with a rope. Spear turned around and found a sack. The fake Tang Long didn't know that his identity had been exposed. He struggled and shouted, "Let me go. Let me go. What do you want? I'm a citizen of M country. I want to protest. I want to call the police." Chapter 305. Qin Haodong was annoyed by the guy's yelling and said, "Stuff his mouth." "Yes, boss." Sharp Sword immediately tore off Tang Long's socks and stuffed them into his mouth. Then, together with Spear, he put him into the sack and casually closed the sack's mouth. "Haodong, is this appropriate?" Lin Momo asked nervously. "Don't worry. I'll give you a result later." Qin Haodong patted Lin Momo on the shoulder and handed the little fellow to Lin Ziyuan, who had rushed back after hearing the news. Then he took Lin Momo and Saber to the yard. He asked Saber to put the sack in the trunk of the car, and then they left the Lin's villa together. In the underground experimental base of M country, Garnett looked at the black electronic screen and exclaimed in surprise, "What is this Wuxia boy doing? Why did he treat test subject number 1 like this?" Davis lit a cigar, took a leisurely puff and said, "Old man, I feel that this Wuxia boy has seen through the identity of test subject number 1. Garnett waved his fist and shouted, "Impossible, this is impossible. Test subject number 1 is almost perfect. How could he see through it? It's an intuition. It's up to you whether you believe it or not." Davis said, "But I'm going to win this bet. Just wait for the $10 million to be transferred into my account." "No, this is impossible. That Wuxia boy must be jealous. He's taking revenge on my test subject number 1. But I believe that Wuxia is a legal country. He wouldn't dare to do anything." Garnett still couldn't believe everything in front of him. In his opinion, test subject number 1 was perfect and flawless. Even the DNA identification was not a problem. Qin Haodong had no reason to doubt it. Qin Haodong took Lin Momo to Daddy's security company. Saber carried the sack and they went to Qi Wan'er's room. Qi Wan'er had just finished dinner and was about to change clothes to take a bath. When she saw Qin Haodong, she said, "Haodong, Sister Momo, you're here?" Then she saw the squirming sack in Saber's hand and asked, "Haodong, what is this? Come with me first." Qin Haodong took Qi Wan'er to the next room and asked, "How much do you know about high-end DNA technology?" "I know a little, but it's all at the theoretical level. I haven't really experimented." Qi Wan'er asked in surprise, "Aren't you a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner? Why are you asking about this?" Qin Haodong did not answer her question, but asked again, "Then tell me, with the current level of technology, can we use DNA technology to create a human?" Qi Wan'er said, "In terms of technology, there is no problem, but now there are relevant regulations in each country, which do not allow this kind of behavior to happen. If we use DNA technology to imitate a person, is there a way to control his words and actions?" Qi Wan'er thought for a moment and said, "Using DNA technology to quickly replicate a person should have no thinking and consciousness. But if we implant a chip in the brain, we should be able to control his words and deeds through computer technology." After listening to Qi Wan'er's words, Qin Haodong was more certain that Tang Long was such an existence. He said, "If there is such a biohuman in front of you now, is there a way to cut off his control?" Qi Wan'er said, "It's not too difficult. You just need to cut off the signal connection between the chip and his computer. With the current equipment of our security company, we can do it." "Great." Qin Haodong said, "There is a biohuman in that sack. Help me cut off his signal connection now." After they finished talking, Qi Wan'er immediately arranged for someone to move the signal jammer outside the room. Then she connected the laptop and began to prepare the program. 3 minutes later she said, "It's ready. Now we can cut off the signal at any time." "Wait a minute. You can do it when I ask you to." Qin Haodong returned to the room and asked Saber to open the sack and let Tang Long out. There were only Qin Haodong, Qi Wan Lin Momo and Tang Long in the room. Seeing what Qin Haodong was doing, Lin Momo was even more confused. She asked, "Haodong, what are you doing? Anyway, he is Tang's father. You can't be impulsive. You'll know what's going on soon." Qin Haodong turned to Qi Wan and said, "Let's start now." The reason why he did this was to let Lin Momo see with her own eyes that the person in front of her was a biohuman, not the real Tang Long. After receiving Qin Haodong's order, Qi Wan immediately pressed the enter key. In the underground experimental base of M Country, Garnett shouted excitedly when he saw the big screen that had restored the image, "I told you that test body number 1 is perfect." Qin Haodong can't find anything. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the image on the big screen flashed. This time, it completely turned into a snowflake, which was a sign that the signal was interrupted. The two technicians on the other side shouted, "This is bad, boss. We've completely lost contact with test subject number 1. My God, how could this be? This is impossible. This is impossible. Isn't Qin Haodong a Chinese medicine practitioner? How could he see through test body number 1? How could he have the technology to interrupt the signal?" However, the truth was the truth. No matter how he roared, there was still a snowflake on the big screen, and there was no sign of the signal being restored. "What's going on? Is there a problem here?" Garnett shouted at the two technicians. One of the technicians quickly said, "Boss, there is no problem here. The connection signal between the computer and test body number 1 was strongly interfered with, so the connection was broken." "Wuxia boy, you will regret what you have done." Garnett roared crazily. Davis, with a cigar in his mouth, said with some schadenfreude, "Old man, you'd better think about how to keep the secret of test body number 1. A huge wave of air swept around wildly, and all kinds of furniture in the room were instantly turned into pieces. Then a large area of the wall collapsed, burying everything in the room. In the laboratory of M Country, a technician shouted, "Boss, test body number 1 has successfully started the self-explosion program." "Great." Garnett shouted excitedly, "Although I wasted my most precious test body this time, I killed that Wuxia boy after all. The plan is a success." Davis said, "Garnett, it's not as simple as you think. I've dealt with that Wuxia boy several times. He's very powerful. I'm afraid he won't die so easily." Garnett said disdainfully, "Old man, are you scared by Qin Haodong, or are you jealous of what I've achieved? Do you know how many explosives I put in test body number 1? It's enough to blow up a tank. In this case, Qin Haodong is not made of steel. How could he not die?" He was right. The amount of explosives placed in test body number 1 was indeed enough, and the power of the explosion was enough. When Qin Haodong was attacked by the first wave of air, he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Before he could recover, a large number of bricks and stones fell like raindrops, instantly swallowing the bodies of the 3 people. Qin Haodong madly used his genuine qi and spat out a large mouthful of blood again. Fortunately, he managed to protect Lin Momo and Qi Wana. The 2 women did not understand why Qin Haodong suddenly threw them down until the sound of the explosion was heard. 2 streams of hot liquid sprayed on their faces one after another, and a bloody smell hit their nostrils. Only then did they understand what had happened. Qi Wana herself was a strong person at the level of internal strength. Under Qin Haodong's protection, she was not hurt at all. She was the first to react. She hurriedly shouted, "Haodong, how are you?" "I'm fine." The 2 injuries made Qin Haodong feel weak. He said, "Davis, that bastard. He put explosives in the biochemical man. When I get out, I'll break his bones." Chapter 306. The 3 of them were pressed under the stones and no one could move. Lin Momo also asked nervously, "Haodong, you're vomiting blood. Are you okay?" Qin Haodong said, "It's okay. It's just a small injury. I won't die." Qi Weiner said, "Don't worry. Sister Wushuang will come to save us soon." Although she had enough cultivation and could easily rush out of the ruins, it would inevitably aggravate Qin Haodong's injury. What she could do now was to wait quietly for help. Then the 3 of them were quiet and no one spoke. Qin Haodong's posture remained the same. He was still like an eagle, protecting the 2 women in his arms with his 2 arms. Under the heavy pressure of the ruins, he could not move at all, and he could not even wipe the blood on the corner of his mouth. Qi Weiner's heart was full of warmth and sweetness for being protected in Qin Haodong's arms. As the eldest daughter of the Qin family, she had always put down her pride to pursue Qin Haodong. Although she had enough courage and had a deep love for Qin Haodong, she still had a little regret in her heart. In her opinion, Qin Haodong had always refused her before. Although he finally agreed to let her be his girlfriend, he must love Lin Momo more. Through what happened today, she had seen that she and Lin Momo were equally important in Qin Haodong's heart, and he could also protect them at the risk of his life. Thinking about it, she was a little crazy. She even hoped that time would stop at this moment, and she would live in this love forever. At this time, a drop of warm liquid fell on her cheek. Qi Weiner then realized that Qin Haodong was still suffering from serious internal injuries, and he could not even wipe the blood on the corner of his mouth. Thinking of this, she gently raised her chin, stretched out the tip of her tongue, and licked the blood on the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. For a moment, a strong smell of blood filled her taste buds, but there was only love in her heart. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He did not expect that Qi Weiner would help him wipe the blood in this unique way. Fortunately, it was absolutely dark under the ruins, and the small movements between them were not seen by Lin Momo, which saved him some embarrassment. Lin Momo didn't say anything. Her heart was full of guilt and self-blame. If she hadn't had that night with Tang Long before, she wouldn't have brought trouble to Qin Haodong, let alone hurt him. But she could never imagine that without that encounter, she would not have fallen in love with Qin Haodong today. Outside the ruins, when the explosion occurred, Saber and the others immediately rushed over and began to rescue the 3 people under the ruins. Then the entire Daddy Security Company sounded the alarm. Nailan Wushuang immediately rushed to the scene of the explosion with Zhang Tiniu and the others. Seeing the destroyed room, Nailan Wushuang asked, "What happened? What happened here?" Saber raised his head in a hurry and said, "I don't know why there was an explosion. Boss, Miss Lin and Miss Qin were all buried under it." Hearing that Qin Haodong was pressed under the ruins, Nailan Wushuang's face suddenly changed and she shouted in a hoarse voice, "Hurry up and save him." After saying that, she was the first to rush in. Although there were many people in Daddy Security Company, the area of the ruins was very small. In the end, only Nailan Wushuang, Zhang Tiniu and the others carried out the emergency rescue in the front. Fortunately, these people were all masters at the covert power level, and their speed was much faster than ordinary people. About 5 minutes later, they faintly saw the 3 people who were buried under the ruins. Nailan Wushuang asked eagerly, "Haodong, how are you? Are you all right?" Afraid that Qin Haodong's words would affect his injury, Qi Wan rushed to say, "Sister Wushuang, we are fine. Haodong is injured." Hearing that Qin Haodong's life was not in danger, Nailan Wushuang was relieved, and then she hurriedly shouted, "Everyone hurry up and get Haodong out." A few minutes later, everyone cleared away the debris on top of the 3 people. Qi Wan moved and walked out of the debris with Qin Haodong in her arms. "Haodong, how are you? Is your injury serious?" Nailan Wushuang's face was full of concern, and Zhang Tiniu, Saber and the others were also watching nervously. Qin Haodong smiled with difficulty and said, "I'm fine. It's just a little internal injury. I just need to find a place for me to circulate my qi and regulate my breathing." Qi Wan hurriedly carried him to a clean room, carefully put him on the ground, and then helped him sit cross-legged. Qin Haodong took out a healing elixir, put it into his mouth and began to treat his injury. Qi Wan and the others left the room and gently closed the door. Nailan Wushuang asked, "What the hell is going on? Why did it suddenly explode?" Qi Wan told them about the cyborg and finally said, "It was my fault. I thought it would be fine after the signal was cut off. I didn't expect that the cyborg was equipped with a self-exploding device. Haodong was injured in order to protect us." Lin Momo said with self-blame, "It has nothing to do with Sister Wan. It's my fault. If it weren't for me, these things wouldn't have happened." Nailan Wushuang comforted them and said, "Well, it's over. Don't blame yourself. Fortunately, Haodong was only a little injured and there was not much danger." After that, the 3 of them stopped talking and quietly waited in front of Qin Haodong's door. They all loved the same person and knew each other's mind, but they didn't have much hostility at this time. They just hoped that Qin Haodong could get better as soon as possible. Qin Haodong seemed to spit out 2 mouthfuls of blood, but in fact, his internal injury was not too serious. It was just because the explosion was too violent that his internal organs were shaken. However, the genuine qi of Evergreen Tree was the best healing medicine. After running the genuine qi 3 times, his injuries were almost healed. An hour later he walked out of the room in high spirits, but his ragged clothes looked a little funny. Haodong, how are you? Are you all right? Seeing him walking out of the room, the three women all wanted to jump into his arms, but when they thought of the other two they restrained themselves. The atmosphere was a little awkward for a while. I'm fine. Are you hurt? Qin Haodong said to Lin Momo and Qi Wan. We're fine too. The two answered together. After that, the four people gathered together, as if they had lost a common topic for a while. Just when Qin Haodong wanted to ease the awkward atmosphere, Lin Momo's cell phone suddenly rang. The phone was from Lu Yage. When Lin Momo pressed the answer button, she heard Lu Yage say eagerly, Momo, is that you? Are you all right? How is Haodong? Is he all right? It was very quiet around, and Lu Yage's eager voice could be heard clearly by others. Lin Momo was stunned at first, and then she said, I'm fine and Haodong is fine. What's wrong with you? Why do you suddenly ask about this? It's okay. It's okay. It really scared me to death. On the other side of the phone, Lu Yage breathed a sigh of relief and said, I don't know who made the rumor that you and Haodong were assassinated by killers and both of you were blown up. Now the internet is full of such rumors. Now many reporters have rushed to Tangmen Company after hearing the news, and they are waiting outside the door. And the employees in the company have also heard the news. They are so flustered that they can't produce normally. Sister Lu, don't worry. Tell the employees that we are fine and will go back soon. Let them work at ease. Tell the reporters to wait for a while. When they see me and Haodong they will automatically refute the rumors. Lin Momo hung up the phone and turned to look at Qin Haodong. It seems that Wilson Company must think that we are dead, so they spread this rumor. The purpose is to destroy the production of the blood revival elixir. Qin Haodong took Lin Momo's hand and said, let's go back now. Wait a minute. Nalan Wushuang said, look at you now. Anyone who sees you will know that you were indeed assassinated. You should take a bath and change your clothes before going back. Qin Haodong and Lin Momo looked at each other. Both of them were covered in dust and their clothes were ragged. It was really not suitable for them to appear in public. So they quickly rushed into the bathroom of Daddy Security Company and took a bath as fast as they could. Nalan Wushuang found 2 new sets of clothes for them to change into. Then they got in the car and rushed to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company under the escort of Saber and others. As he said this, he looked at the camera with a deep gaze. Chapter 307. In the underground laboratory of M Country, Davis was shocked when he saw Qin Haodong on the big screen. It was as if Qin Haodong's eyes had pierced the depths of his soul. Garnett smashed the wine glass in his hand onto the ground and roared angrily, Devil! Is he a devil? Why didn't he die? Why didn't so many explosives kill him? After Davis returned to normal, he said, I told you that Qin Haodong is not simple. Your plan number 1 won't work at all. If I want to get the formula of the blood revival elixir, I can only rely on my plan number 2. Garnett said, your plan number 2 is too slow. Why don't you use my plan number 3? Davis looked at him and said, why don't you use your plan number 3 and I'll use my plan number 2? Let's see who will succeed in the end. Garnett said angrily, I won't lose to you this time. Davis chuckled. My dear old buddy, what you should do now is to transfer $10 million to my account. My little lover has been wanting an Aston Martin sports car from me for a long time. Now you can buy it for her. After that, he left the laboratory happily, leaving Garnett with an angry face. At Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, when the workers saw that Qin Haodong and Lin Momo had come back intact, they immediately devoted themselves to the production of the blood revival elixir. Things had finally stabilized, but Lin Momo's low mood had not been relieved. This situation continued until the evening. Even when the little fellow had fallen asleep, she still stared at the ceiling with dull eyes. No one knew what she was thinking about. Qin Haodong pulled her hand and said, Momo, what are you thinking about? Lin Momo remained silent and did not speak. Qin Haodong came to her side, lay down close to her and said, What's wrong? Are you unhappy? Do you want to go to the next room and I'll let you feel like a knight? He had wanted to make Lin Momo happy, but as soon as he said this, Lin Momo threw herself into his arms and cried. Qin Haodong quickly comforted her. What's wrong? Why are you crying? Did today's explosion scare you? Lin Momo choked and said, Haodong, I don't deserve you. Were you scared by today's explosion? Why are you spouting nonsense? Look at you, you're so beautiful and you're also the CEO of 2 companies. I'm the one who doesn't deserve you. Lin Momo continued to choke with sobs, but I didn't give my first time to you. On the contrary, I brought you so much trouble. If I hadn't made a mistake that time, Wilson Company wouldn't have found the flaw and come to trouble us again and again. This is not your fault at all. But I blame myself. It's my fault. I don't deserve you. Lin Momo suddenly pushed him away and said, "Let's break up." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "What are you talking about? We were fine, why did we break up?" "You are so outstanding. I can see that both Wu Shuang and Wan are like you. They're both good girls. Any one of them would be better than me. Go find them. Don't come to me again." Qin Haodong was speechless. He didn't expect that today's explosion would have such a big side effect, evoking Lin Momo's infinite inferiority complex. "Momo, don't think that way. In fact, I really don't care. You don't care, but I do. I'm a woman who has given birth to a child. I don't deserve you." Lin Momo cried excitedly, "Go now. We'll have a working relationship in the future. Don't have any private contact." Qin Haodong didn't expect that Lin Momo would care so much about this matter. Originally, he wanted to tell her the secret when he reached the Gold Core realm. Now it seemed that he had to do it in advance. "Momo, in fact, there's a secret I've been hiding from you." Some people said that women were the most curious animals. Sure enough, although Lin Momo was out of control at this time, she still asked, "What secret?" Qin Haodong said, "Actually, I'm Tang Long." Lin Momo was stunned at first, and then she said with shame and indignation, "Qin Haodong, is this interesting? There have been 2 fake Tang Long and you're still laughing at me with this." "I'm really Tang Long." Qin Haodong said, "You must believe me. Otherwise, why do you think I could tell at a glance that those 2 were fake? Because I'm the real one." "Qin Haodong, don't you think this reason is very funny? Let's part on good terms. Go now." It was no wonder that Lin Momo couldn't believe it. No one would associate Qin Haodong with Tang Long. "I'm telling the truth. Listen to me." Qin Haodong began to tell the story from the night he met Lin Momo to the cultivation world, and how he failed the tribulation and was reincarnated in Qin Haodong's body. Lin Momo was completely dumbfounded. It took her 3 minutes to digest what Qin Haodong had said. Then she asked incredulously, "Haodong, are you sure you're not telling a story?" "Of course not." Qin Haodong said, "Although I'm a little lazy, I still like to give birth myself. I don't like other people's children. The reason why I'm so good to Tang Tang is that she's my daughter. So don't have any psychological burden. I'm your first man and Tang Tang is also my daughter. The 3 of us are a family." Lin Momo looked at Qin Haodong in a daze. Then she shook her head and said, "It's impossible. You must have made up a story to deceive me. It's impossible." Qin Haodong said with a wry smile, "It's because my experience is so unbelievable that I haven't told you. But it's true. I don't believe it. I still can't believe you're Tang Long." Seeing that Lin Momo didn't believe him, Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "Well, I'll tell you what happened that night. You can tell me if I'm Tang Long." After a pause he said, "We stayed in the Orange Hotel that night. We used your ID card to get the room. The room number was 508. Lin Momo was slightly stunned and said, "Although what you said is correct, the people of Wilson Company can also find it. It doesn't prove that you're Tang Long. Well, you were wearing a white dress and red high heels that day. It's not a secret. Many people can see it." Seeing that Lin Momo didn't believe him, Qin Haodong finally took out his trump card. "You were wearing a black bra and a pair of black lace shorts that day." Well, Lin Momo didn't expect that Qin Haodong would even say this. Her eyes suddenly widened and then her face turned red. Since he had opened his mouth, Qin Haodong didn't mean to stop. He continued, "You didn't like being a knight until today. The first time that night was when you pushed me down. You did it 5 times in a row. You were on top of me 3 times. Later, you bit my left shoulder." As he was speaking, Lin Momo covered his mouth with her hand. Shock, joy and shyness. At this time, Lin Momo's emotions were extremely complicated. What he had just said was the absolute privacy of her and Tang Long. It was impossible for others to know in any case. It seemed that Qin Haodong didn't lie. He was really the reincarnation of Tang Long. Although she completely believed him in her heart, she couldn't help but ask, "Are you really Tang Long?" Qin Haodong said solemnly, "I told you that I am Tang Long. Do you want me to repeat what happened that night?" "You bad guy, why didn't you tell me earlier?" Lin Momo threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms and cried again, but this time her tears were more of joy. Although God played a joke on her, in the end this perfect man was sent back to her. Qin Haodong also held Lin Momo tightly in his arms. After telling this secret, Lin Momo no longer had any obstacles in her heart. He also felt much more relaxed. They could be together in the future without any burden. After a moment of hugging, Lin Momo's mood slowly returned to normal. She said, "Haodong, do you think Wilson Company will come to trouble us again in the future?" Qin Haodong said, "Let them come. It's no big deal. Sometimes bad things can become good things." Although he had excellent medical skills, he didn't know how to run a company. Lin Momo was also involved in the pharmaceutical industry for the first time. Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company had just been established, so there must be some flaws and hidden dangers. In contrast, Wilson Company, which was in the light, was just a whetstone to help them test their flaws. It was much better than being stabbed by other competitors in the future. Only by solving all the existing problems could they go further. That was why he was not in a hurry to find Davis to settle accounts. "Well, with you here, I'm not afraid of anything." Lin Momo snuggled in Qin Haodong's arms, listening to him talk about interesting things in the cultivation world. Occasionally she would pour out what had been on her mind over the years. That night the two of them did not sleep. Because of this experience, Lin Momo had become colder and colder in recent years. It was not until Qin Haodong appeared that she slowly improved. However, it was only improved but not completely removed. It was not until this moment that her heart was completely opened, and she regained her enthusiastic and unrestrained character. The next day, Lin Momo and Qin Haodong went out of the room to do morning exercises. Although they didn't sleep all night, they looked full of spirit. "Dad, good morning." Lin Momo stepped forward and greeted Lin Ziyuan, who was practicing Tai Chi. Lin Ziyuan trembled all over and almost sprained his waist. He hadn't heard his daughter say good morning to him for many years. What was wrong with her today? He rubbed his eyes and looked at Lin Momo, thinking that he had just heard it wrong. "Dad, why are you looking at me like this? Don't you know me?" Lin Momo said with a smile like a flower. "Momo, are you all right?" Lin Ziyuan was shocked by his daughter's great change. He was really afraid that Lin Momo had been stimulated. "Nothing. You practice Tai Chi slowly. I'm going to run with Haodong." After that, she took Qin Haodong's hand and they ran together to the path of the villa area. Looking at Lin Momo's back, Lin Ziyuan's eyes flashed. His once enthusiastic and cheerful daughter finally came back, all thanks to the appearance of Qin Haodong. The family had a happy breakfast together. When Qin Haodong was about to go to work with Lin Momo, the phone in his pocket rang. It was Gao Fengwen. "Mr. Gao, what's the matter?" Qin Haodong pressed the answer button and said. He had great respect for this old man who devoted himself to the cause of traditional Chinese medicine. "Here's the thing, Dr. Qin. At 9 o'clock this morning, our Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association will have a meeting. Do you have time to attend?" Gao Fengwen said very politely. Although Qin Haodong was much younger than him, his character and medical skills had completely won his respect. When speaking, he even used honorifics. Chapter 308. "Alright, please tell me the location, Elder Gao. I'll be there in a moment." Qin Haodong was very concerned about traditional Chinese medicine, so he immediately agreed. "That's great, Dr. Qin. I was afraid that you wouldn't come." Gao Fengwen excitedly told Qin Haodong an address. Qin Haodong and Lin Momo sent the little fellow to the kindergarten and then drove in the direction of the address. When they arrived, they found that it was an abandoned primary school that looked a little shabby. As soon as he parked the car, Gao Fengwen, Zhong Sihai, and Xin Xiangfu greeted him. "Dr. Qin, you are here." The three of them warmly greeted each other. Qin Haodong responded to them one by one and asked, "Mr. Gao, is our Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association working here?" Gao Fengwen said awkwardly, "I'm sorry, Dr. Qin. The office conditions here are a bit bad, but our Jiangnan Traditional Chinese Medicine Association is a non-governmental organization set up by us old guys. We don't have any funds or office space, so we can only make do here." Xin Xiangfu said, "It was old Gao who found this place. He once cured the illness of the principal of this primary school, so he temporarily borrowed it as the office of our Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association. But I heard that this primary school will be auctioned soon. I don't know where we can move in the future." While talking, several people crowded around Qin Haodong and walked into the office room of the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association. It used to be a primary school conference room. Although it looked a little shabby, it was still very spacious. There were already 70 or 80 people sitting in it. These people didn't look young. Some of them were even a few years older than Gao Fengwen. Their eyebrows and beards showed that they were real old Chinese medicine practitioners. After entering the door, Gao Fengwen said to the crowd, "Let me introduce you to Qin Haodong, the medical sage of the Jiangnan Chinese medicine circle. He once cured old Maldini's head tumor without surgery. A few days ago he defeated the Neon People's provocation of the Jiangnan Chinese medicine circle. Now he invented the blood revival elixir that shocked the whole country. Dr. Qin has brought honor to our traditional Chinese medicine and let the whole world see the ability of our traditional Chinese medicine. He is the leader of our traditional Chinese medicine and the pride of our Jiangnan traditional Chinese medicine. Let's applaud and welcome him." After his introduction, the audience immediately applauded. Although the old men were old, they were still very excited to see Qin Haodong. "Medical sage, you are the pride of Chinese medicine. Medical sage, I want to learn from you. I want to be your disciple. Medical sage, you are my idol. I heard that you are not married yet. Be my son-in-law." Qin Haodong was startled by these old men. He didn't expect them to be so enthusiastic at such an age. What was going on with the old man who asked him to be his son-in-law? "You look over 80 years old. Your daughter should be at least 50 years old, right?" Shen Xiangfu said, "Dr. Qin, we old guys often talk about the miracles you have created in traditional Chinese medicine. Everyone admires you very much." Gao Fengwen said, "Dr. Qin, you are the role model of our traditional Chinese medicine community. Can you join our Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association?" He was smiling when he spoke, but Qin Haodong felt weird, like an old fox looking at a chicken, but he couldn't figure out what was wrong. Zhong Sihai also said, "Yes, Dr. Qin, the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association is full of old men like us. We are in urgent need of a young and promising force like you." Shen Xiangfu said to the audience, "Let's applaud together and welcome Dr. Qin to our Chinese Medicine Association." There was a burst of applause in the venue. Although these people were not young, they were worthy of studying traditional Chinese medicine. They were all in good health and their applause was no less than that of the young people. The applause was like thunder and lasted for a long time. Qin Haodong was moved by everyone's enthusiasm. He said, "Well, since you don't mind my young age and lack of experience, I will join our Chinese Medicine Association." Gao Fengwen said excitedly, "That's great, Dr. Qin. Welcome to our Chinese Medicine Association." Next he asked Qin Haodong to sit on the rostrum with the three of them, and then said to the audience, "Today is the triennial election of our Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association. I propose that Dr. Qin be the president of our Chinese Medicine Association." Shen Xiangfu and Zhong Sihai also said, "We also propose that Dr. Qin be the president of our Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association." Only then did Qin Haodong know what the problem was. It turned out that these old guys invited him to join them in order to make him the president of the Chinese Medicine Association. He quickly said, "Mr. Gao, everyone, this is not appropriate. I just joined the association. How can I be our president? There's nothing inappropriate about it." Gao Fengwen said with a smile, "According to the rules of our Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association, the next president will be nominated by the previous president, as long as you are a member of our association. If everyone votes more than 50%, you will immediately become the next president." Then he said to the audience, "Now let's vote. Those who agree that Dr. Qin will be the president of our Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association, please raise your hand." As soon as he finished speaking, all the old men under the stage raised their hands and some even raised both hands. It was no wonder. Although Qin Haodong looked a little young, his achievements on behalf of traditional Chinese medicine were solid enough to win the respect of these seniors. "Well, it's a unanimous decision." Gao Fengwen turned to Qin Haodong and said, "President Qin, from now on, the Chinese Medicine Association will be handed over to you. I'm officially retiring." Qin Haodong was still in a daze. How did he join the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association and become the president of the association in a daze? "Mr. Gao, this is not appropriate. It's really not appropriate. You are highly respected. The position of president must be yours. Don't make it difficult for me." Gao Fengwen stopped smiling and sighed. "Dr. Qin, to tell you the truth, I'm really ashamed of the title of president of the Chinese Medicine Association. You know the current situation of traditional Chinese medicine. In order to save the decline of traditional Chinese medicine, we old men gathered together to establish the Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association in order to make traditional Chinese medicine have a better development, so that the treasure handed down by our ancestors will not disappear in our hands. But 9 years have passed. Although we have worked hard, we have achieved little. Traditional Chinese medicine is still going downhill every day until you showed up and gave us hope. It's not that I'm modest, but old people have limited energy and are old-fashioned. Dr. Qin, you have medical skills and ability, so I think the position of president of the Chinese Medicine Association must be yours. Only under your leadership can traditional Chinese medicine have the hope of revitalizing. Speaking of this, Gao Fengwen stood up and bowed deeply to Qin Haodong. Our Gao family has been practicing medicine for generations. Chinese medicine is the treasure of the whole Wuxia. Everyone here doesn't want to see the foundation handed down by our ancestors be destroyed in the hands of our generation. We won't be able to face our ancestors after we die. Dr. Qin, I beg you, for the future of traditional Chinese medicine, please take this hard job. After he finished speaking, under the leadership of Zhong Sihai and Shen Xiangfu, all the old Chinese medicine practitioners in the room bowed to Qin Haodong and shouted, Dr. Qin, for the sake of traditional Chinese medicine, please be the president. Looking at these white-haired old men, Qin Haodong's heart was full of emotion. Although traditional Chinese medicine was declining, after all, there were still people working hard. They were fighting. Seniors, since you all value me so much, then I won't refuse any more. Qin Haodong said loudly, I promise you that from today on, I will do my best to revitalize traditional Chinese medicine. As long as I, Qin Haodong, am alive, I will fight for the cause of traditional Chinese medicine. I will never regret it. I will never flinch. I will never regret it. I will never flinch. The old Chinese medicine practitioners present were ignited by his words, so they raised their arms and shouted together. After the new president was elected, everyone sat down again. Gao Fengwen said to Qin Haodong, President, please say a few words for us. I'm not in a hurry. Let me know the situation of our Chinese Medicine Association first. Qin Haodong said, Mr. Gao, the purpose of setting up the Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association is to develop traditional Chinese medicine. What has the association done around this goal? Gao Fengwen said, Our Chinese Medicine Association mainly carries out two things. First, we regularly provide free medical treatment to the people and expand the influence of traditional Chinese medicine. Second, we carry out internal communication in the association to exchange treatment experience with each other for difficult and complicated diseases. Qin Haodong nodded and asked, That's all? Nothing else? Gao Fengwen said with a little embarrassment, That's all we can do at the moment. Qin Haodong sighed secretly. No wonder the Chinese Medicine Association hadn't developed much for so many years. They hadn't found the direction of development from the root. It was a good thing to provide free medical treatment to the people, but it was still far from revitalizing traditional Chinese medicine by relying on this alone. The internal communication was far from perfect. People in the traditional Chinese medicine industry were used to keeping their own secrets. It was okay for them to exchange experience with each other, but no one was willing to take out their own unique skills. In the end, some unique skills and secret recipes were slowly lost. He asked again, Mr. Gao, how many people are there in our association? 78 in total. How many traditional Chinese medicine practitioners are there in Jiangnan City? Gao Fengwen said, About 300 people have registered with the Sanitary Bureau and obtained the physician's qualification certificate. Only 78 out of 300 traditional Chinese medicine practitioners had joined. Qin Haodong said, It seems that the coverage of our Chinese Medicine Association is not enough. Shen Xiangfu said, There are not many people in our Chinese Medicine Association. There are several main reasons for this. On the one hand, the purpose of our association is to develop traditional Chinese medicine. We often go out for free medical treatment, which is unprofitable. This makes some traditional Chinese medicine practitioners who only want to make money very disapprove of us and choose to refuse to join. There are 5 famous clinics in the field of traditional Chinese medicine in Jiangnan, including Mr. Gao's Desho Hall, Mr. Zhong's Huichun Hall, Fu Hailong's Xuanhu Hall, Lu Baikuan's Jishir Hall, and my Baichao Hall. Now 3 of the leaders of the 5 clinics have come, and the other 2 old guys are greedy for money. They have never thought about how to make money if traditional Chinese medicine really collapses. Speaking of this, Shen Xiangfu looked very angry. After calming down, he continued, There are also some people who are used to fighting on their own and don't want to join our organization. In addition to those who don't want to join us, there are also some people we don't want. These people are not good enough. The purpose of joining the Chinese Medicine Association is to gild themselves, so that they can use the name of the Chinese Medicine Association to deceive people to make money. Their motives are not pure. We directly refuse such people. After he finished speaking, Qin Haodong basically knew the current situation of the Chinese Medicine Association. Gao Fengwen looked at Qin Haodong, who was thoughtful, and said, President Qin, you are young and have a flexible mind. Do you have any good ideas for the future development of our Chinese Medicine Association? Chapter 309. Then I'll talk about my personal opinion. Qin Haodong looked at the audience and said, I have 3 opinions about the next development of the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association. First, we should improve our internal communication. Mr. Gao just said that we had internal communication before, but it was limited to the exchange of experience between each other. It couldn't improve each other's medical skills. What I want to say is that everyone should take out their unique skills and at least take out a part for others to learn. Only in this way can we really improve our medical skills. Only when our medical skills are improved will the development of traditional Chinese medicine not be empty talk. After he said that, the audience was silent. Although everyone agreed with Qin Haodong, people were selfish. Some old Chinese medicine practitioners claimed that their treatment methods were ancestral secret prescriptions, which were not passed on to outsiders. How could they take them out? Gao Fengwen frowned slightly. In his opinion, Qin Haodong's idea was still a little naive and unrealistic. Many Chinese medicine practitioners regarded their secret prescriptions as more important than their lives. How could they take them out and share them with others? Qin Haodong said, I know what you are thinking. Chinese medicine belongs to our Wuxia people. As long as you take out your unique skills, it will benefit the people of Wuxia. Of course, I don't want you to make contributions for free. I want to set up an evaluation group with Mr. Gao and a few others. After everyone takes out their secret prescriptions, we will evaluate them and give them financial compensation according to the value of the secret prescriptions, starting from 10,000 yuan and up to 1 million yuan. The audience was in an uproar. No one had expected that the young president would make such a big offer as soon as he took office. The huge reward was enough to move everyone, but they knew the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association's financial resources. Even the venue was borrowed. How could they have the money to give out bonuses? Qin Haodong continued, as the president, let me start first. I have a set of acupuncture methods of yin-yang acupuncture. I'm willing to give it to our Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association for free. After the meeting, I'll print it into a book and give it to everyone. What? Yin-yang acupuncture? Gao Fengwen and the others were shocked by Qin Haodong's words. When they heard Qin Haodong said yin-yang acupuncture, they suddenly opened their mouths in surprise. As old doctors of traditional Chinese medicine, it was impossible for them not to have heard of the yin-yang acupuncture. It was definitely one of the top 5 acupuncture techniques in the history of traditional Chinese medicine in Wuxia. It had a miraculous effect on balancing yin and yang and dredging meridians. However, it had been lost for many years. They did not expect that Qin Haodong would have this acupuncture technique and share it with them for free. The exchange is just an idea of mine. We'll discuss it later. Qin Haodong continued, my second idea is to establish a school of traditional Chinese medicine. If we want to develop traditional Chinese medicine, it's definitely not enough to rely on the seniors. No matter how well you do, after 10 or 20 years when you pass away, who will we rely on? We had to rely on the younger generation. Therefore, if we want to develop traditional Chinese medicine, we must establish a foothold and cultivate young people. This time, Gao Fengwen spoke, President, both of your suggestions are good, but they both require money. Our Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association has no funds. How can we make the bonus? How are we going to run a school? The others also looked disapproving. Although they thought that Qin Haodong's words made sense and the idea of encouraging people to take out their unique skills by means of rewards was also novel, these things all needed money. Without money it would be an empty dream. Qin Haodong smiled and said, so the third point I mentioned is to make money. The Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association and all of you here need money. No one can live without money, so making money is the most basic. Profit is the foundation of the development of traditional Chinese medicine. Whether it is the development of a country or the development of an industry, it is absolutely impossible to develop without economic foundation. Zhong Sihai said, but how can our Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association make money? We can't charge for free medical treatment, can we? Of course not. We will do more free medical treatment in the future and it will be free. Qin Haodong said, if the association wants to make money, there are 2 main ways. First, we can turn everyone's medical skills into money as soon as possible. It's not enough to rely on seeing patients alone. If anyone has a very valuable prescription, you can give it to me, such as the blood revival elixir. At that time, Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company will help to mass produce it. 80% of the profit will go to the owner of the prescription, and 20% to the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association. After hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up at first, and then they felt infinite admiration. This was equivalent to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company contributing to the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association for free, which was equivalent to Qin Haodong donating to the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association in disguise. Gao Fengwen said, "President Qin, this is a good idea, but it is a long-term plan. We can't make money for the time being. Tell me about your second way." Qin Haodong said, "The second way is to let some rich people who love traditional Chinese medicine donate to our association. When we have the first sum of money, we can set up a traditional Chinese medicine school. Everyone will go to the TV station to give some health lectures, and the school will open some health classes. Then we can be self-sufficient." "Donate?" Gao Fengwen smiled bitterly. "Dr. Qin, to tell you the truth, I have tried in the past few years, but many people are not optimistic about the traditional Chinese medicine industry. No one is willing to donate to us. The others were also disappointed. Donations were too unreliable. Who would donate to traditional Chinese medicine in this day and age?" At this moment, the cell phone in Qin Haodong's pocket rang. "Excuse me, I have to take this call first." He pressed the answer button and old Maldini's stiff Wuxia language came from the other side. "Dear Dr. Qin, how are you?" "I'm fine, old Maldini. How are you?" "How are you?" "Good, that's great." Old Maldini said excitedly, "After taking your physique-improving pill, I feel like I'm young again. I can kill a cow with one punch." "Old Maldini, you didn't call me just to say this, did you? What else do you want?" Old Maldini said in an exaggerated tone, "Dr. Qin, you are so smart. I called you mainly for two things. First, congratulations on developing such a magical thing as the blood revival elixir. Chinese medicine is so amazing that I have nothing to say. I now wonder if God is a Chinese. Why do miracles happen to you? Even you know about this?" Qin Haodong was slightly surprised. Although the blood revival elixir had caused a great sensation, it was only limited to the pharmaceutical industry. He didn't expect that this foreign old man would also know about it. Old Maldini said, "Of course. I'm not a doctor, but I'm an investor. I control 5 multinational investment companies. Of course, I have to keep abreast of the latest developments in the world and find the most valuable projects. Dr. Qin, are you interested in cooperating with me? I can invest as much as you want in the blood revival elixir. You can decide the proportion of profits." If other people in the financial world heard this, their glasses would be broken. Old Maldini had always been known for his rigorous and harsh investment. He had never been so generous. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. The foreign old man was really sharp. He saw the value of the blood revival elixir at once, but he had no interest in cooperating with him now. "Old Maldini, my factory has already started production. If there is a chance, let's cooperate next time. Now let's talk about the second thing. Dr. Qin, it's a pity that I can't cooperate with you." On the other side of the phone, old Maldini shook his head and continued, "Dr. Qin, in fact, I'm asking you for medical treatment this time." "Medical treatment? Didn't you just say that you're in good health? Is there something wrong with you again?" Qin Haodong felt a little strange. "Everyone, the first donation of our Chinese Medicine Association has been received. The number is $100 million US. "What? $100 million US? The old men in the audience had only heard about Qin Haodong's donation, but they did not know the amount that old Maldini had donated. At this time, when they heard $100 million US, they immediately opened their mouths in surprise. Some old men were so shocked that their false teeth even fell to the ground. No one in Wuxia could get a donation of $100 million US just by talking. From today on, the Jiangnan Chinese Medicine Association would no longer have to worry about funds. Chapter 310. Then, everyone present had infinite respect for Qin Haodong. Before, they respected Qin Haodong's medical skills, but now they respected his medical skills, ability, and love for the cause of traditional Chinese medicine. Someone took the lead and applause rang out in the venue. Then more and more people applauded and the sound became louder and louder. Qin Haodong waved his hand and everyone immediately quieted down. He said, "Now that the money problem has been solved, there must be a lot of things for the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association to do. I can't handle it alone. I suggest that Mr. Gao, Mr. Zhong, and Mr. Shin be the vice presidents of the association to deal with the daily affairs. No one objected to this proposal, and it was unanimously adopted. He added, in the short term, our Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association needs to do 3 things well. First, immediately prepare for the establishment of a traditional Chinese medicine school, recruit students, and cultivate reserves for the development of traditional Chinese medicine. Speaking of this, he turned to Gao Fengwen and said, Mr. Gao, can you contact this primary school to sell? It's a good location. Let's renovate the school building and directly establish a traditional Chinese medicine school here. Even the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association will be located here. Gao Fengwen nodded and said, President's proposal is good. I'll prepare it right away. Qin Haodong turned around and said, the second thing is to hold an internal exchange meeting in a short period of time. I hope that everyone will not be stingy and show their unique skills to improve each other's medical skills. Don't worry, President. We won't hide anything. We promise to show all our unique skills. Yes, President. You've even taken out the acupuncture method of yin-yang acupuncture. What's there to be reluctant about? Yes, President. There's only one girl in my family. If I don't take it out, I won't be able to pass it on. Everyone was inspired by Qin Haodong's personality and said that they would show their unique skills. On behalf of traditional Chinese medicine, I thank you. Qin Haodong stood up, bowed to everyone and then continued, the third thing is what we're going to do right away. Prepare tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association will hold a large-scale free clinic to promote the reputation of our traditional Chinese medicine. Originally, Gao Fengwen invited Qin Haodong today just to let him take over the position of president. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong would act so quickly and arrange the short-term work in an orderly manner. After the meeting, he took Qin Haodong's hand and sighed sincerely, President Qin, you're really young and promising. The rise of traditional Chinese medicine will depend on you in the future. Qin Haodong said, you're welcome, Mr. Gao. If I want to do a better job in traditional Chinese medicine, I can't do without you seniors. I'll have to trouble you for the future of the association. Gao Fengwen said, President, you've done your job. Leave the rest to us old men. After talking about the future development of the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association, Qin Haodong returned to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. He pushed open the door of the president's office and saw Lin Momo fiddling with a big red invitation card. Qin Haodong asked, what is it? Is anyone getting married? Lin Momo said, no, it's an invitation from the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce. There will be a reception at the Jiangnan Club tonight. They invited me to attend. Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce? Why haven't I heard of it before? You're not a member of this circle, so of course you don't know. Lin Momo said, this is a business circle formed by the upper class of Jiangnan. If you want to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce, your assets must exceed 1 billion yuan. And this is only one of the conditions. More than 2 members must jointly recommend you, and more than half of the members must agree to join. Qin Haodong said carelessly, is it necessary to be so arrogant? It's so troublesome. Of course it is. Lin Momo giggled and said, the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce is the largest business circle in Jiangnan City. Once you join, you almost have the business resources of the entire upper class of Jiangnan City. You can directly talk to the financial big shots standing at the top of the pyramid. We can exchange what we need. It's definitely a rare resource for a businessman. Qin Haodong asked, are you a member of the Chamber of Commerce? Of course I am. If I'm not a member, I won't receive an invitation. Qin Haodong said with a smile, well, I originally wanted to eat and drink with you tonight, but now it seems that I can't. That's fine. According to the rules, each member can bring a companion, Lin Momo said. How about I also recommend you to join the Chamber of Commerce? According to your net worth, it's more than 1 billion now. Forget it. I'm just a little doctor. I'm not interested in the Chamber of Commerce. Qin Haodong reached out and held Lin Momo in his arms and said, my wife is a member. There's no need for both of us to join. Lin Momo glanced at him charmingly and said, who promised to be your wife? Well, not my wife but my child's mother. Qin Haodong said as he was about to kiss Lin Momo's delicate red lips. At this time the phone in his pocket rang. He wanted to ignore it but Lin Momo pushed him away. You'd better answer the phone first. Don't delay the business. Who's so stupid to disturb me? Qin Haodong said discontentedly as he took out his phone. The call was from Gao Fengwen. This old man we just separated for a while. Why did he call me? Qin Haodong said as he pressed the answer button. On the other side of the phone, Gao Fengwen said, President, I've just contacted the school. The price of the school is 50 million. I've consulted a few friends who are in the real estate business. They said that the price is relatively fair. Should we buy the school? 50 million is fine. Let's buy it. Well, I'll go and talk with them about the contract later. Gao Fengwen's tone was full of excitement. After wandering for so many years, the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association finally had its own position. After a pause he said, President, there's one more thing. Many people in our association have received invitations from the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce. They asked us to attend a reception in the evening. Do you think we should go? An invitation from the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce? Qin Haodong picked up the big red invitation on the table and played with it in his hand. He said, This is your personal freedom. It's completely voluntary. Whoever is interested can go. Maybe it can promote Chinese medicine. I see, President. Gao Fengwen hung up the phone. Qin Haodong smiled and shook his head. He thought that the old man was quite interesting. He even told him such a small thing. Lin Momo said, What? You're the president? When did it happen? Why didn't you mention it? I'm the president of the Chinese Medicine Practitioner Association. I just became the president for less than 2 hours. I haven't had time to tell you yet. Qin Haodong said with a smile, By the way, didn't you say that only members of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce could attend this reception? Why did so many people in our association receive invitations? Chinese medicine practitioners received invitations? Lin Momo was a little surprised and said, I don't know. There has never been such a precedent before. After thinking for a moment, she said thoughtfully, What's going on? What the hell is Wang Haiding doing? Haitian Group is in the real estate and financial industry. I've never heard of them entering the pharmaceutical market. Qin Haodong said, Not in the past doesn't mean that they won't in the future. Now that our blood revival elixir has a huge market effect, maybe they're interested. Lin Momo nodded and said, Maybe. The value of the blood revival elixir is too great. If you're willing to make money, it won't take long for you to enter the rich list of Wuxia. It's inevitable that people will be jealous. However, you need to have the ability to be jealous. Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company was started by you alone. No one else can develop a magic medicine like the blood revival elixir. After work, they took the little fellow home and then rushed to the Jiangnan Club to attend that evening's reception. Lin Momo changed into a black evening dress, which was sexy but not vulgar. Her skin was white and smooth, and her facial features were so delicate that there was no flaw. Coupled with her long black hair that hung down like a waterfall, any man would drool at the sight of her. While driving, Qin Haodong glanced at Lin Momo and said, If I had known that you were so beautiful, I would have asked Saber and the others to come with me. How many rivals will you make at the reception? Don't worry. In my eyes, you're the only one because you're the child's father. Lin Momo rarely showed the attitude of a little girl. Then she said, You're rich now. Why don't you change your clothes? You're always wearing these hundreds of yuan casual clothes. These clothes are comfortable to wear. Besides, you're handsome, so it doesn't matter what you wear. What do you mean? Are you saying that because I like to dress up, I'm not beautiful? Qin Haodong originally just wanted to show off, but he didn't expect to get angry. He quickly said, No, in fact, whatever you wear is upgraded by you. It's because you're beautiful that your clothes look beautiful. That's more like it. Lin Momo enjoyed her lover's praise very much. Qin Haodong felt that it was easy to get into trouble if he talked about this topic too much, so he wanted to change the topic. At this time his cell phone rang again. It was a strange number. After the phone was connected, a voice said in Wuxia language, Hello, medical sage. I'm Maldini Jr. from M Country. I'll arrive in Jiangnan City in more than an hour. Where can I meet you? Qin Haodong remembered that he was going to treat Maldini Jr. He said, Mr. Maldini Jr., I'm going to attend a reception at the Jiangnan Club. Come to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company tomorrow. Oh, are you going to the reception at the Jiangnan Club? I just received an invitation from them, but I refused because of the appointment with you. Since you're going, I'll ask my assistant to accept them now. See you at the reception later. Maldini Jr.'s tone was full of excitement. Mr. Medical Sage, I'm so happy to meet you. You know, you're my idol. His enthusiasm was completely different from old Maldini's calmness, which gave people a very good sense of intimacy. After hanging up the phone, Lin Momo asked, The person who called you was Maldini Jr.? He actually came to Jiangnan City? Yes. He came to see me for treatment. Oh my god, Maldini Jr. actually came to Wuxia. I believe many people will go crazy. Qin Haodong asked in surprise. Why? Is Maldini Jr. famous? Famous? Don't you know anything about Maldini Jr.? Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, I only know that he's old Maldini's son. I don't know anything else. Lin Momo pretended to glare at him in disgust and then said, Maldini Jr. is a very talented person. He controls the largest Midas investment company under old Maldini. He has sharp eyes and the ability to turn stone into gold. He has made dozens of investment cases over the years without any failure. Everyone says that he will be the best successor to old Maldini. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.